What is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining us on Tuesday night. This is Tuesday Night Titans, episode number 60 for your Tuesday, August 6th, 2024. I am your host, JD from New York, as always, joined by the one and the only, the Solomonster. What's going on, brother?
Well, it's been a whirlwind of a day. It's very wet here in New York.
Very wet.
Opened up. Oh, yeah, very wet. Very wet. It just opened up a few minutes ago, so. But we're inside, so we're dry.
We're good.
It's all good.
We're good.
All good.
We're good. It actually kind of resembles the intro of the podcast outside.
That's true.
Yes.
That's true. It was meant to be.
I got the rain worse about an hour and a half ago. It's still raining now, but if you guys are out and about, and for our fans down south in Florida, man, hopefully you guys are safe with what is it, a tropical storm? I think it was a Category 1. It reached a Category 1 hurricane, Debbie, down there. Hopefully you guys are safe. And the weather lately, man, the fucking rain all over the place. I don't know what's going on, but hopefully you guys are inside and enjoying the show and taking it easy on this Tuesday night. We got a lot to get into. It was a very, very busy weekend, Jason. I know you and I, off camera here, have complained of the lack, or about the lack of news and I would say flair to the WWE AEW products. I think that changed this weekend, man. We got a lot of newsworthy shit coming out of the weekend.
Oh, it was a busy weekend. It was a busy week. WWE and AEW, not just WWE.
Oh yeah.
So I think be careful what you wish for, because then you just get hit all at once by a lot of stuff. But the good news is, mostly, for the most part, a lot of good stuff over the past few days.
Yes. I don't know. Listen, I don't know if we're going to be as busy as Dominic Mysterio, but I mean, God bless that man. Seriously.
Well,
I think he made out like a bandit this weekend.
He made out with something. Yeah, we're happy, but we're not necessarily as happy as he is.
No.
Lucky SOB. I mean, can you imagine, like, you know, you're at a storyline where you get to hang out every week with Rhea Ripley, and she's all over you. At the same time, he gets married. Actually, they both do, but he gets married in real life, and he seems to be in a very happy relationship with his new bride. And then they're like, hey, we're gonna hit you with a news story now, and we're gonna have this hot blonde who's gonna be after you, and she's gonna be jumping on you every single week. She's gonna be straddling you. And like, here's the story that we're looking at. And he's got to be thinking to himself, what did I do to get so lucky here? I'm looking at him going, what did he do to get so lucky here? And then looks like he made his move. We've been talking about how he's been resisting as far as like folding. And boy, did he fold. He folded over the weekend.
Oh, he folded. You know what it is? It's the mustache.
I was thinking about that. He's got the mustache and he's got the mullet.
Yeah.
And it really angers me, but apparently, I guess maybe it drives the women wild. I don't know. He does have that Eddie Guerrero like 97 vibe.
Listen,
which makes me wonder.
I got half of that. I'm growing my hair out. I wonder if that's going to have any effect on anybody like Dominic. I don't know. I doubt it.
No, it's not going to have any effect at all. But I do wonder about that whole paternity thing, because as time goes on, he really does look like the offspring of Eddie Guerrero more than Rey. So something going on there.
Yeah, it is very scary, but good for him. And the storyline that he's involved in is really top tier shit. So we're going to get into that. We're going to talk SummerSlam. We're going to talk Monday Night Raw, which I thought was maybe the second best Monday Night Raw of the entire year. I know there was one earlier in the year that might have been better than that, but it was definitely up there as far as the Paul Levesque administration for sure. I thought what they did on Monday was tremendous. And we're going to get into the Lucha Brothers. Apparently, they may be headed to WWE, which is not a bad thing. But if you go on social media, after 5 years of top-tier service from those fine gentlemen, the AEW fan base are ready to just shit all over them. So I'm not really surprised about that. We'll talk about that. Motor City Machine Guns also is a possibility for WWE, so they could be on their way to revamping their tag team division. And then we'll talk about Britt Baker and MJF and what the hell happened with this Britt Baker suspension. I don't know, Jason, what do you call it? All Elite Elementary?
All Elite Elementary. I used to call it All Elite Daycare, but All Elite Elementary has a nicer ring to it.
Yeah.
It's just one thing after another. And the thing I'm wondering is, for all we know, this could be happening in WWE too, but we don't hear about it.
No.
Like, someone is leaking this. So they have two problems. Number one, whatever the drama is that's playing out in the workplace, and then people leaking it to the dirt sheets, and it gets out there, and at the end of the day, it's AEW and Tony Khan really who take it on the chin and end up looking ridiculous for it.
Gee, man, Britt Baker's been back for a cup of coffee and maybe a half a scone, and she's already suspended.
Already suspended.
It's crazy.
And here we are, right? We're heading into Wembley Stadium. So are we looking at Brawl In 2 this year? I mean, is this what we're looking at here? Are they going to be able to control themselves when they're backstage this time? Because those CCTV cameras are going to be rolling. They're going to be waiting. They're going to have cameras in every room, every hallway. They have to be prepared for anything. This is the last thing Tony Khan needs.
Yeah, I don't know. It's something about the month of August for AEW, man. It's just
the heat.
It's bad juju.
It's the heat. I'm telling you, it's the heat. It makes people do crazy things. Why do you think you have all those people? Florida man, right?
Yeah.
Florida. It's very hot.
Yeah.
It's the heat.
Well, speaking of our American champion, before we get into the top of what we want to talk about here, Mr. MJF tweeted out at 7:19 p.m., all flights to North Carolina have been canceled, most likely because no one in their right mind would ever want to go to that garbage state, not my America. But since I'm an American hero and have an obligation to my country to kick Kyle Fletcher's ass, I'm currently driving 10 and a half hours to give Will Ospreay a preview of Wembley. Hashtag thank me later, man. What this man doesn't do for his country. It's amazing.
Well, he was in Mexico last week representing the USA at Arena Mexico and got a very chilly response down there for his match with Templario. He did win.
Of course he did. He's an American hero. Why wouldn't he?
Of course.
So we will talk AEW. We will talk our American champion a little bit later, but a couple of pieces of information I want you guys to be aware of. I don't know if you guys know or not. Hopefully you do. We got a new shirt out. Tuesday Night Titans got its first ever t-shirt design.
Oh, yeah.
On bonfire.com. If you guys don't see, you should see it right underneath the video player. I made it a lot easier for you guys to go and pick one up. So click that link underneath the video player. You see it on screen right now. Tuesday Night Titans. It is actually the first TNT design ever for the show, and it's the first design in collaboration with us two together. So make sure you guys go do that. We actually did this first before we did anything Hog in 5 years. Anything House of Glory in 5 years. That's crazy.
That is crazy.
And I just heard a huge thunder roll through.
I heard that too.
Oh, my goodness, man.
I heard that too. Well, hopefully we'll be able to stay online here tonight.
I know, hopefully. So go get your t-shirts, guys. That is now available on bonfire.com. If you guys want to support the show, it's a great way to go and do that. Also, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. We would love to see at least 1,000 likes on the show tonight. And please hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for all notifications, and please go follow Jason on all of the appropriate social media and his YouTube channel as well. Everything you need is going to be in the description down below. And as always, Jason, start us off. What do you want to talk about?
Well, let's get into SummerSlam first, because that kind of kicked off a very busy weekend, and we have a lot to talk about on the Raw front. So it all started with SummerSlam, and it was a very newsworthy SummerSlam. I thought it was a good show. I enjoyed it. I was entertained. I wouldn't call it the best SummerSlam that I've ever seen.
Oh,
but
no. No, I've seen some creators in the space say it was the greatest SummerSlam of all time. No, it wasn't. Not even
yeah,
close.
I mean, I've seen like greatest SummerSlam in 10 years and stuff like that. Look, I mean, people will, enjoy shows in different ways. We had 7 matches on the show. I will not be going back at any point to rewatch any of the matches that I saw, but there were a lot of moments, and it was a very story-driven show, which is something Triple H has proven to be very good at, and that's one of his strong suits. A lot of big stories playing out. We had a couple of betrayals. We had 4 title changes on the show, which outside of a WrestleMania, you don't usually see 4 title changes on a WWE show. So in a lot of ways,
I was going to say, it was needed. I think it was needed. Don't you think it was needed?
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. Because the last few weeks of Raw and SmackDown, especially SmackDown, have been, boring as shit.
Yeah.
So they needed to push, in a way, push a reset button and get things going. And I think you and I both knew, most people knew, Roman Reigns was going to come back. And once Roman came back, it would take that main story and really push it forward. Because it just felt like they kind of ran out of ideas. They did all they could to make the new bloodline as strong as possible. And then it just felt like we hit this waiting, pattern here where it's like, all right, we need Roman back first. We'll get him back. And then the bloodline story will kick into the next gear. So now he's back. That was the other big news of the night at SummerSlam. And when the show was over, I was entertained, and it gave me hope that Raw and SmackDown going forward now would be a little bit more exciting. And it sure was last night on Raw. We'll find out what happens on Friday, but it certainly led to a very interesting episode of Raw last night.
It did. I thought SummerSlam was a thumbs-up show for sure. There was a couple of down moments, but mostly up moments to me. I enjoyed the CM Punk and Drew McIntyre match. That, to me, that was not the best wrestling match in the night. I thought that went to Damian Priest and Gunther, but I thought the story of Punk and McIntyre was the best thing to me on the show, because I just have a very, very soft spot for the throwbacks to the 1997 SummerSlam, one of my favorite SummerSlams ever. I loved what they did there. I loved the betrayals of Liv and Dominic on Rhea, or at least Dominic anyway on Rhea, and then Finn Balor turning his back on Damian Priest. I thought I know you were a little hesitant on the Dominic turn a little bit. You were kind of warming up to it in the weeks leading into it. How do you feel about coming out of the show, the way everything transpired and the way that they did it? I thought they did it beautifully.
I thought the way it was executed was perfect. And everyone's reaction to it, Michael Cole on commentary, the way he sold it, I thought was fantastic. He's always on Dominic's ass anyway. But everybody played their part well. I thought it came off great. I trust that they have a longer-term direction here when it comes to the Dominic and Liv stuff. So I liked it. It freshens things up a little bit now. Damian Priest, Rhea Ripley, now officially baby faces. They're on the outside looking in. And now the story becomes them getting their revenge. And that's going to take time. You don't want to give it all away at once. Rhea's got a bone to pick, not only with Liv, but with Dominic as well. And, one thing I talked about in my Raw review last night, in today's WWE, I don't expect to see it. But if there was ever a story that warranted a match, male against female, it's Rhea and Dom. You could tell me you wouldn't be entertained by the prospect of a Rhea Ripley Dominic Mysterio match?
I mean, that would be great. I mean, I even, as far as what we saw last night, I don't want to jump ahead here, but it looks like we may be getting a mixed tag team match in Berlin.
Yeah, I expect it. Yeah. I don't see why we wouldn't get a mixed tag match. And I'm not expecting it, but I'm hoping that at some point they can do it, because I think it could be very entertaining. Like, you can do that match in such a way that doesn't sort of violate their unofficial rules when it comes to like male on female violence and all that. They've proven that Rhea Ripley can more than hold her own. We've seen her beat up men on the show before. Yeah, she's very much like a modern day Chyna in that regard. Chyna used to beat people up all the time. And I get why they don't do it anymore. I personally, I'm not like a huge fan of intergender wrestling to begin with. But my attitude is, when there is a story or a situation that warrants it, I'm cool with it. We had it in Lucha Underground, and I love Lucha Underground. That was my first introduction to people like Io Sky and Kairi Sane. When they were brought in, there was one episode where they actually wrestled Pentagon. And I remember stuff like that. And if it's done well, then it can work. If they feel like they can't do it because they have sponsors to answer to and things like that, I get it. I understand it. But I just think even if they just tease it and then we kind of get it one day and it's mostly stalling and maybe a couple of spots, they gotta try to do it at some point. I just think it would be very entertaining. They could tie it into the ongoing story with her and Liv. So they have a couple of different directions they can go with it. And then Damian Priest, of course, has his issues with Finn Balor, and we could talk more about that when we get to Raw. So you mentioned that the thing you liked about SummerSlam was it freshened things up.
Yeah.
I feel like it did that for the Judgment Day, because now the Judgment Day has been, I mean, they've been running roughshod over Raw for 2 years now. And now all of a sudden we still have the Judgment Day and it doesn't look radically different, but it's like almost like a new version now. And so even the Judgment Day, which you get to a point where it's like, what more can you do? Even there now, they put a different spin on it, and what's old is new again in many ways. So
I looked at what was going on last night, and I was paying attention to the presentation of Finn Balor, and I finally feel now Balor, the way he has operated within the Judgment Day, I feel like it's probably his best work. I don't want to take anything away from his black and gold days. I love the Demon. I loved his NXT World Title run down there, but a lot of people don't really understand that happened, and a lot of people weren't really around for that. They're going to really kind of hone in on what he's doing here on the main roster. I feel like this is his best presentation since then, and even since then, I think this is his best period. He's finally going to become a main event guy in the role that he's in now as the leader of the Judgment Day. With Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley going babyface, him being the leader of the Judgment Day, I feel like he's going to be elevated to the next level finally. And he's not, I mean, he's still young, but he's not young. He's in his early 40s. He's in unbelievable shape. He could still wrestle just as good as anybody else. So I'm excited to see where they take him and where he takes the Judgment Day. A lot of people were kind of comparing them to like the WWE's version of the Bullet Club. Not really in the same vein, but it's like, you know, where they were dark, they were mysterious, they were spooky, they had all this fucking smoke and mirrors, and they wanted to do these magic acts that Bruce wanted reportedly to give them magic acts and disappearing acts. And now you look at them and they're just cool. They emit this coolness factor to them. They are just a great act. And I feel like if WWE was going to have the Bloodline on SmackDown, they needed something to kind of balance out Monday Night Raw, because if you got the Bloodline on SmackDown, and specifically on SmackDown, and Monday Night Raw didn't have anything, I wonder where Monday Night Raw would even be right now without a storyline like the Judgment Day. So when you look at day one from the Judgment Day, from Adam Copeland, Priest, and Rhea Ripley to where they are now, they're not even, all those members are not even in the group anymore. But from what they were supposed to be to where they are now, I honestly feel like in the last maybe 10 to 15 years creatively, it's probably one of WWE's, I want to say it's a home run. It's one of their best creative things that they've done in the last 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's worked out in a way that I wasn't expecting when the group first started. It was sputtering there for a while. And you would have asked me that 2 years ago. I would have said there's no way that 2 years later this thing is going to be in existence anymore, let alone, you know, one of the dominant stories on the show. So they turned it from what felt like a failure, honestly, in those early days, to a massive success. And you mentioned the fact that you mentioned the cool factor. I hope you were referring to the group as it was before, not as it is now, because the two people that kind of added the cool factor to the group are no longer in the group. So I don't know that I would say the Judgment Day now is cool. That's not the word I would use for it.
Finn is cool. I think Dominic is cool. I think Liv is going to add a nice kind of youthful, cool factor to Dominic, where Rhea Ripley was like, you know, she was the dominant figure in the group, where Liv is going to be a little bit more of a background player compared to Rhea Ripley. But yeah, I mean, the cool factor. It's like they're just like, you know, like a cool biker gang, you know?
You're digging the hole deeper. You're digging the hole deeper. No, you're not going to win this. Like cool is not the word I would use to describe the new Judgment Day. They're fine. They're a fine heel faction. But
you don't find JD McDonough cool?
I don't. No, I don't find anyone named JD. I don't find cool.
Oh my god.
But like, you know, JD, and then you have Carlito, who goes whichever way the wind blows. You stick an apple in his mouth, he'll be happy. You know, so. It is what it is. I almost feel like they need to add somebody new to make up for the loss of Damian Priest. because now Priest was kind of like the muscle of the group, and now they don't have that. They have Balor and they have McDonough, who are kind of the same size, and then you have Carlito, and nobody is going to take him seriously in the role that he's in. So is there another person that they could potentially add to the group, somebody who physically, is maybe an imposing person, who could also maybe benefit from being part of this group in the way that Damian Priest did? Because Damian Priest came out of this a hell of a lot better than he was before he entered the Judgment Day.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of, like, do they need another person? I think they might. And who would benefit, and who should that person be?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not really in the mindset to think about who's on that roster that would benefit and fit the role of a Damian Priest. I don't really think there is anybody right now on the main roster. It could have been Dijak. I see a lot of people in the chat saying Dijak. That would have been great. I think he would have been a nice fit for that, but clearly that's not happening. Yeah. But, no, it's not going to be Omos either. No, sorry. You guys are fucking crazy. But, yeah, I agree with Jason. I feel like they could use definitely another piece of the Judgment Day, more muscle. I don't know what that is yet, but...
Yeah, and especially also, I know we're jumping around here, but, like, coming out of Raw last night, I just thought, man, if they could just hold off on the eventual Balor and Priest match for WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I don't know that they can, but if they could, that would be great. If they added someone like that, that could be a way to put a little bit more distance between Balor and Priest, because now there's somebody new, and maybe Priest, it's another obstacle for him to have to overcome on his pathway to getting to Finn Balor. So that could be another added benefit of trying to add somebody new. You don't have to immediately jump into, Balor and Priest. He could be occupied maybe with somebody else in the meantime. Because to me, like that's a WrestleMania match. Like, the story here is so rich, and it's been going on for so long. That to me would feel like an appropriate WrestleMania singles match between Balor and Priest. And they could do it, but I feel like by that point, they probably will have already done it at least once. I don't know that they can get away with not doing it until maybe, Bad Blood. It'll probably end up being a Bad Blood match, but I just wish, man, if they could just find a way to keep this interesting, but not have them go one-on-one until WrestleMania, that would be perfect.
Yeah, it's the same way I feel about Punk and Seth Rollins. I don't know how WWE is going to get from where we are now to WrestleMania, and I'm kind of thinking along the lines of I don't even want to see it at WrestleMania anymore. I feel like it's going to happen before then, and then both guys are going to go in separate directions going into WrestleMania. I don't know how they take what they're doing now all the way to WrestleMania with Punk and Rollins. They're going to wrestle at least once before then.
Well, I mean, maybe yes, maybe no. They took a giant step last night to kind of setting them in different directions, did they not?
They did. I was actually surprised by that. Nobody had that on their bingo card. Maybe they can do it. Maybe they can do it. But we'll get to that discussion as well. Keeping with the SummerSlam discussion, what they did in the opening match was great. I thought the match was decent. The story was even better. Liv and Dominic together. Rhea is now full-blown babyface. And I seen, Jason, a couple people, one more note on this, a couple people were actually joking around, making a meme of it. Dominic was a heel through and through, even though Rhea was still becoming this babyface character, and he was still being booed. Now all of a sudden he got even more heelish. He went from being a heel to an even bigger heel. It's like an asshole to an even bigger asshole.
He pulled off something that's very rare. The heel turn from the heel. The heel turn heel. Like, you don't see that very often. So that was something. That was something.
Bron Breaker is the new Intercontinental Champion. He beat Sami Zayn in 6 minutes. Fightful Select is saying the match was slated to go 10, but they did not. It actually was rushed. We're getting a rematch next week, so hopefully they kind of fill in the gaps there next week.
2 out of 3 falls.
Oh, they added 2 out of 3 falls?
They announced it last night, yeah. 2 out of 3 falls. Okay. When they put the match graphic up, they said 2 out of 3 falls next week.
Oh, I didn't hear that announced. I was listening to the interaction between Zayn and Uso yesterday. I didn't hear that, but that's great. Yeah. I mean, I'm excited for that. Breaker won the Intercontinental Championship. I was expecting a lot more going into SummerSlam because I really enjoyed their match at Money in the Bank. I thought we were going to get another banger, but looking back at it, Jason, I don't think that even with the report saying that the match was rushed or they were strapped for time, I don't think it really made a difference because what we got is exactly what we needed to get, I feel. Like Sami Zayn did what he needed to do with the Intercontinental Championship. I think moving Breaker on to that title in the manner that they did at SummerSlam actually played itself out very well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm of two minds on it. I was disappointed it didn't go longer because I know they have a better match than them. They had a better match of Money in the Bank than they did at SummerSlam. So I was disappointed in that. But on the other hand, you look at it and go, Sami Zayn is the man who handed Gunther his first loss on the main roster. And Bron Breaker went in there and beat that man in 5 minutes. So it's a way, you know, to put him over even stronger, I guess, that it only took him 5 minutes flat, you know, clean to beat Sami Zayn. So I don't hate it. I just selfishly wish they could have gone out there and had the banger that we know they could have, especially on a big show like SummerSlam. But, you know, again, they're going to get 2 out of 3 falls. We're going to basically get probably 3 matches in a way out of them on TV next week, assuming they headline with it. So, you know, it all works out in the end. And Bron's the guy. You know, I mean, you could tell from the way he was positioned the moment he came into NXT when they blew it up, right? You remember this well when 2.0 launched. And it was the final scene, I think, of that very first 2.0 episode, right? When he confronted Tommaso Ciampa, I believe. Was it Tommaso Ciampa? Who?
Yeah, he was the champion. They had taken the title off Samoa Joe.
Yeah, but there was a confrontation, like the very first scene, very first like shot that we had of Braun. He confronted someone in the back, and I thought maybe
it might have been LA Knight. Yeah, it might have been LA Knight.
Yeah, maybe it was LA Knight.
Yeah.
But from that moment, you could tell, okay, they're positioning him in a way where they must have big plans for him. And then he made NXT his there for a while. Now he's on the main roster, and you can see the trajectory for him is on the upswing. Now he's got a title that so many big names and Hall of Famers have held in the past before they went on to become World Heavyweight Champion. And I said on Saturday, this title he just won is not even the biggest belt that he's going to have in these next 2 years.
No.
So this was only the beginning. And the sky's the limit for him because he's just one of these kind of freak athletes that they have. His speed, his intensity, you know, he's got something that a lot of people on that roster don't have, and it makes him stand out. And when he comes out, the people look at him and go, okay, they look at him a little bit differently than they do when, you know, JD McDonough comes out. Not to beat up on JD, but, you know, just using him as an example. People just feel differently when they see Braun out there, like, okay, shit's about to go down.
Yeah, I agree. And like you just mentioned, the Intercontinental Championship's not the only championship he's going to win. This is first of many. And I love the fact that the Intercontinental Championship, again, in 2024, because we all thought it was a dead title in the last administration. We all thought that it would never get to the prestige that it was once at when Jason and I were watching old school WWF, and Bret Hart, Mr. Perfect, Razor Ramon, Shawn Michaels, all the greats held that title. It was the one title that I looked at. It's like, oh man, I want to reach through the TV and touch it. You know, it was the one title as a child I always admired. And to see Breaker now, and then what Gunther did with it, and both of them, Gunther's the world champion, Bron Breaker is inevitably going to be a world champion as well. It's nice to see, Jason, that the IC title is leading superstars who hold it to a world championship. I don't think I can call back to when the last time we felt that way or saw that with the Intercontinental Championship.
Yeah, I mean, Miz had a memorable run with it in 2016, 2017, sometime around then. And before that, I mean, God, you'd have to go back probably over a decade.
That was a great fucking run, though, the Miz.
It was. That's why I singled that out. But probably in the last, 10 years, 15 years, maybe 10 years. That's the only one I could point to. Yeah. Everything else has just been so forgettable. For that, I'd probably have to go all the way back to like 2008, maybe when Jericho and Rey Mysterio, they had a great feud over that title. But you shouldn't have to go back in your memory bank 8 years, 10 years. Like, it's ridiculous. So, when Gunther won it and as strongly as they booked him, that was really what set that title apart from, everything else they had done over the past decade plus. And hopefully it'll continue with Braun and whoever holds it after him.
LA Knight, he's the new United States champion. I know this was a discussion on the previous 2 episodes of TNT. We went back and forth on this. I was saying LA Knight's got to win it. Jason was like, I can't see Logan Paul losing again and getting his shoulders pinned to the mat again. And that's... I'm glad that's not what actually ended up happening, and the right guy won on Saturday night, and LA Knight is the new United States champion, and Logan Paul, at least for the time being, is going goodbye. LA Knight, Logan Paul, I thought had a very good match. It was definitely one of the highlights of the show for me as far as an in-ring aspect. I thought Logan Paul, he's always incredible. No matter what you think of him politically or what you think of him on social media, he is a fantastic performer. And every time he goes in there, he just looks like he is in a war. And I really appreciate what he brings to the table. And he's only seemingly gotten better. LA Knight, I was worried, Jason, about LA Knight and Logan Paul mixing it up because the clash of styles. We've seen Logan Paul in there with Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns and Ricochet and Rey Mysterio and guys like that. And, you know, LA Knight's not the he's not the flashiest guy in the entire WWE, but I thought what they did was solid. It was a great match, right outcome, crowd loved it. And we got a United States champion that now is full-time on Monday night, where the Bloodline and that championship with Cody Rhodes are going to be doing their own thing. Everybody else on that roster now has their sights on LA Knight, and I think that's a great thing for SmackDown.
It's about time.
Yeah.
LA Knight should have had that title 6 months ago, but that's neither here nor there. He stayed over the entire time. People are still behind him. He's as popular now as he's ever been. And so I was very happy to see him win that title and not have them drag it out any longer. Logan Paul, you know, he's a big time, like big show performer. He's had a lot of really great matches. This wasn't even his best match. I wouldn't even say this was in the top 3 of the best matches I've seen him have, but they had a very good match. And I was also worried about, you know, their styles going to mesh and how's that going to work out? There was that one spot. I don't know what happened. You know, we've seen LA Knight do the leap up to the top and then hit the superplex. And it looked to me like Logan just, for whatever reason, didn't get his legs over. And he ended up getting dropped right on his head in like a brain buster. I think it might have been Corey Gray's like, it was kind of like a brain, like, no, it was a brain buster. It wasn't kind of like a brain buster. He dropped him on his fucking brain.
That was brutal.
That was scary, because you don't usually see that move really executed in WWE. It kind of reminded me of the way that Sami Zayn beat Gunther at WrestleMania when he did the big brain buster on the top turnbuckle. So, I mean, outside of that, I mean, that twisting springboard moonsault that Logan did, I don't know how he pulled that off.
I thought he fucking tore a ligament when he landed on the outside.
He overshot LA Knight. LA Knight had to roll over to where he was laying just to check on him and make sure he was okay. But yeah, I mean, he's an incredible athlete. There is no justification, though. And I'm sorry, because I had people coming at me for this. And when the match was over, Michael Cole made the comment. Again, I understand Michael Cole's probably, you know, maybe being fed that, or that's part of the story he has to tell. So I'm not like blaming Michael Cole per se. But he made the comment like, what an incredible run, or what an incredible reign for Logan Paul. There was nothing incredible about his run. And the issue that people had with me saying that is, oh, well, how can you say that? Because he brought the title everywhere with him. Like, I don't give a shit. That's fine. He did his job. That's why they put the title on him in the first place. I get that. Like, I'm not stupid. I understand that. But that does not mean that he had an incredible run. You cannot have an incredible run when you're in the middle of your 3rd title defense in 9 months. Because prior to this, the only times he had defended the title were Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. He won the title in November of last year. So 2 title defenses in 272 days. And then on day 273, he defends it for the 3rd time and loses. There's nothing incredible about that. You know, you had 2 part-time champions for a good chunk of this year on that same show, which did not do, you know, certainly the people in the middle of that card, I don't think it did them any favors. Because you had Roman and you had Logan Paul, and neither one of them were full-time. So I think that hurt a little bit. But again, you know, Logan, when he would show up, he did his job. He had good matches. That's all well and good. I just took issue with the use of the word incredible because there was nothing incredible about it. The fact that Logan Paul took his belt with him when he did his podcast, or if he, you know, I don't know what other events he would have had it at, but like, I don't care. Like, that doesn't make it a spectacular run or an incredible run. He did his job. That's fine. But I'm glad he no longer has that championship, because it was just getting to the point where these people on SmackDown need something to fight for. And if he's not going to be around and we're going to get 2 title defenses in nearly a year, how does that benefit anybody else on that SmackDown brand? Just because Logan Paul is walking around with the U.S. title. You realize he is the 3rd longest United States champion in WWE history?
273 days.
I think that's pathetic.
Well, listen, you're gonna get a kick out of this. I don't know if you see. I know you said you were running around all day. Maybe you missed this. The Undertaker, Mark Calloway, was on Logan Paul's podcast, and he said this in regards to Logan Paul's U.S. title run. Logan Paul made the U.S. title mean something. He says, what you've done with your platform for that title has been very impressive. You actually made that thing mean something. What you did, all the places you go, and with your brother, you've got that belt. That's next level commitment, and that's what's made the belt relevant again. Your look says it all, man. Listen, I get it. I know. I agree with you 100%.
There's a reason why The Undertaker is retired.
Well, he wants one more match, too, which he said.
So, one more match?
He said that to Logan Paul. He's like, I got one more match in mind. I'm like, oh, yeah. I didn't listen to it yet, so I have to go back and listen.
That'd be great. You know what? It's too bad, though, because if Logan Paul had come around when Undertaker was still wrestling in those, that final period there where he wasn't at his physical peak, but Logan Paul would have been the perfect opponent for him. I think for all the same reasons, I think a match with AJ Styles, a proper match at WrestleMania 36, had it taken place, would have been great because he would have bumped all over the place for him, right? I mean, he's this incredible athlete, and I think he would have taken Undertaker probably to the best match Undertaker has had in many, many years. But he came along a few years too late. I certainly don't have any interest in seeing it now. But look, Undertaker is entitled to his opinion when he talks about how he brought value to the United States champion. Like, how do you quantify that? Like, what does that even mean?
I don't know.
You brought value to the U.S. title. You brought visibility to it, but like,
he did.
Where's the real value, I guess, that all these people are talking about that was brought to a championship that was rarely ever actually visible on TV or defended?
I don't know. It is a very weird comment. Like this is the discussion that I usually get into it with a lot of the fan base on AEW, and I see something happening in Japan or this company or that company, Mexico. It's like, listen, bro, I don't give a shit. If it doesn't happen on Dynamite, I don't care. Like Logan Paul, he takes the belt on his podcast. Okay, that's great. What the fuck is that doing for Andrade or Carmelo Hayes or Apollo Crews or anybody else that wants to fight for that? Santos Escobar. And what the fuck does that mean?
But again, like Undertaker, and again, other people have said this too, but I'll just take the Undertaker comment since you just mentioned it, and his word carries weight. Okay, he says that he brought value to the U.S. title. I ask you, what does that mean? How do you quantify that? When Logan Paul went in there and well, I guess he didn't defend it against Cody, but like the match with Cody or whatever match he would have had prior to that, well, look, he was in a Money in the Bank qualifying match. Like, this value that these people speak of, does it feel like the U.S. title is at a much higher level than it was prior to him holding it? Like we talked about Gunther and the run he had for the Intercontinental title. That brought value to that championship in a meaningful way because we hadn't seen a champion like that in forever. Before The Rock came back and started calling himself the final boss, I was calling Gunther the final boss because that's what he was. Nobody could beat this guy. He was that guy, like when you hit him, you're not getting past him. And it helped that he's a great wrestler, so everybody he was in the ring with, he just elevated them, and he had great match after great match after great match. But that was building value in the Intercontinental title and elevating the prestige of that title that had been so diminished for so long. I just look at that as that's an example of bringing value to the championship. That to me means more than just carrying it around in public in front of people that don't even know what the fuck it is.
Well, I mean, his podcast, he brings it to his podcast. He brings it to his brother's boxing matches. Look, he brought it to the White House with Donald Trump and meeting Donald Trump.
Look over my shoulder. I got a belt on my wall. This is visible every single time I come on here on TNT. Does that mean I brought value to the Winged Eagle?
Sure.
Okay.
I guess so.
All right. Maybe I have. I feel very proud. It's just I don't know. I just find that to be
All of his,
argument.
I guess they measure it in value as far as his social media reach. I don't know how many of those fans are translated into or transferred into wrestling fans. I don't know.
No, they probably look at it as whenever he's photographed with like a major celebrity or a politician or something, if he's got the title in the shot or he's got the title over his shoulder, then maybe they're looking at that and saying, oh, that brings value to WWE. Like if The Rock comes back and he beats Cody and he becomes the WWE champion, right? Rock might take that belt with him everywhere he goes if he's on the red carpet and stuff, but that's different though because it's The Rock. And, you know, obviously he's a terrible example because he's a bigger star than pretty much everybody. Then you might be able to say, well, he's far more visible than anybody else, and if he does the talk show circuit, he's on the Tonight Show or whatever, and he's got the belt with him. But if he's using it to maybe promote something like his next big fight, his next big match, WrestleMania, whatever it is, that's where I could see value really being brought to it. I don't know. I didn't see Logan Paul out there doing that type of media stuff. It's great that he has it on his podcast and, you know, he's hanging around with his brother. That's fine. But I don't know. The word incredible and him saying he had an incredible run just really rubbed me the wrong way. Yeah, maybe it shouldn't have, but I just made a comment like it's so ridiculous, and then people were like, "Oh, he brought the title everywhere with him." I go, "Okay, great." So he brought it in the bathroom too, right? Maybe he wiped his ass with it. Did he?
He showered with it. He laid in bed with it. He ate with it.
Made love to it. You know, maybe he pulled an Xavier Woods on it. You know, back in the day, it's an old reference.
Oh God.
You know, hey, I don't know. Good for him. More power to him. I hope LA Knight washed the belt off first, but I just think it's ridiculous.
Yeah, now the thing is, I don't know if you've seen this as well. Logan Paul, I guess this is part of the storyline. Logan Paul is now suing LA Knight for theft and property damage for what Knight did to his Prime truck. So the feud may not be over.
I thought they were going to use the fact that his foot was under the bottom rope as an excuse to prolong the feud and get a rematch out of it.
Well, that would make a lot more sense to get a rematch than destroying somebody's truck. So
yeah, I mean that if that's in fact what they're preparing for is a rematch, I just think it would have made far more sense to have him raise the issue that, hey, I didn't realize it, but I saw the replay and his foot was clearly under the bottom rope, and so therefore I deserve a rematch, as opposed to, hey, I filed a lawsuit in court because you knocked the window, the driver's side window out of my truck. But hey, I guess they chose to go a different way with it.
What does Logan Paul do from this point on? I got this question here for you because I was thinking about this, and clearly I think the first name that jumps off of everybody's page is John Cena. I think we absolutely get Logan Paul versus John Cena at some point in 2025. Outside of that, who do you see Logan Paul in the ring with now that he's not the United States champion?
I think any top name that he hasn't worked with yet. I mean, he's worked with a lot of them. He's worked with Randy, Roman. He hasn't worked with AJ yet, has he? AJ Styles?
No.
I'd love to see that match.
AJ is scheduled for Friday Night SmackDown.
He is. And, he's been a heel recently, but I think he'll be a babyface at some point again, probably soon. So, yeah, AJ Styles and Logan Paul would be, I think, friggin' great. He's technically a SmackDown guy, is he not? Is he on the SmackDown roster?
I don't want to speak out of place. I want to say yes, but I think he's a free agent. It's just something about it. I think he's a free agent. He could float between both brands.
All right. Well, I mean, that opens up some more possibilities there. He did wrestle Seth at WrestleMania, so we saw that. Logan Paul and CM Punk.
I could see that in 2025 too.
Promos with them. For all the same reasons I was looking forward to LA Knight and Logan Paul. I think CM Punk and Logan Paul could be a lot of fun too. But I was disappointed because it was clear to me that LA Knight was held back and very restrained in what he could say and not say about Logan Paul. That's what it felt like to me, because there was a lot of material there from Logan's past and non-wrestling stuff and scams and scandals he's been involved in. And LA Knight could have had a field day with that, and he didn't bring up any of it. And so that takes the fun out of it, because even if it was like Logan Paul and CM Punk, like, is Punk not going to be allowed to bring up, the Crypto Zoo scandal or any of this other stuff that he's been involved in? Because that, to me, is what I was looking forward to. LA Knight could have torched him on that stuff, and it never came up once.
Yeah, I think they may stay away from that because it only brings bad publicity to Logan Paul, and I think he wants to stay away from that. But though I agree with you, I think if one person is going to do that, I think CM Punk will dabble in that a little bit. He won't really push the envelope too much, but yeah, I'd like to see something like that because it only brings a little bit more realism to it. But yeah, I agree. I feel like Logan Paul, without the United States Championship, is going to be better off for it. SmackDown's going to be better off for it. He did what he needed to do, just like Sami Zayn did what he needed to do with the Intercontinental Championship. So we got 2 champions crowned at SummerSlam through this point, and that is best for business for sure. Nia Jax, speaking of changing of the guard here and new champions, Nia Jax won the WWE Women's Championship in what I thought was the worst match of the night. Not because it was bad from an in-ring standpoint. It wasn't really entertaining, but I feel like with what we got, the story coming in was probably the least entertaining and interesting out of all the stories that WWE was telling on Saturday night. She is the new women's champion. She won the Queen of the Ring. Gunther won King of the Ring. So it's nice to see that the King and Queen of the Ring tournaments actually propel someone to championships, which it should be, and that's the way it used to be done.
Yeah. That to me was one of the biggest things coming out of this SummerSlam show that I love, is the fact that we not only had the King and Queen of the Ring sending the winners to championship matches at SummerSlam, but we had them win.
Yeah.
So now when you go into the King and Queen of the Ring next year, you can look back and go, okay, now this thing is really super important because both winners went on to become world champion a few months later. And everybody should want to be a part of this. Everybody should be declaring. Everybody should want to qualify for it. So I love the fact that Triple H added really high value stakes to it and then followed through. It's not like they both went in there and lost. They both went in there and won. And you want to talk about restoring value to something. Again, that's a great example of how you restore value to something like the King of the Ring.
Yeah, and it's only going to be further enhanced year over year the more we see that. And hopefully they do bring it back. There's no reason why they shouldn't next year. So very much looking forward to that. But Nia is the new WWE Women's Champion. Tiffany Stratton did come out, not to cash in, but to serve more as a distraction for Nia to win the championship. And she delivered 2 annihilators to win the Women's Championship. Bayley
got her briefcase.
Yes, I know you called it like you're a fucking psychic. Again, I know you mentioned it on your own platform, but you mentioned it last week as well, and it's like, it's a damn good idea because before you said it last week, I didn't think of it, and then I was paying attention to Friday night. I'm like, this motherfucker, there it is, man. She got a pink bedazzled furry briefcase with a fucking strap.
It wasn't even that. Like, I mean, I'm sure there were some people who figured she had to get her own custom maybe pink briefcase at some point, but just the fact, and I told you when we did our predictions, I said, look, Nia kind of teased that she was going to get her a new one because the other one was all messed up. Bayley destroyed it. And I said, if she gets a new one on Friday, okay, the night before SummerSlam, there is no way that she's cashing in on Saturday because I guarantee you that night they will have them up on WWE Shop. And so not only did she get her pink briefcase on Friday, but before the show was even over, they already had it up on WWE Shop for pre-order for $130. You can get your own pink Tiffany Stratton Money in the Bank briefcase. And look, $130. If people want to spend that on a briefcase, that's fine. Hey, you could probably buy a regular briefcase for more money than that. But they're going to sell so many of those that it doesn't make any sense for her to cash in 24 hours later. And so sure enough, I saw her come out and I said, okay, they're going to tease it. I thought maybe the distraction would cost Nia. It went the other way. But I wasn't surprised that she still has the briefcase because they want her to walk around with it as long as possible so they could sell as many of those briefcases as they can. They're always trying to sell you stuff. It's just common sense, let her walk around with it for a while.
Yeah, that was spot on. I wasn't surprised when I seen it. It was a great idea that you had brought forth last week and then obviously in the weeks prior. I don't know when we see a cash in. I know we will be seeing a cash in soon. We don't know when it's coming, but as far as the championship now, I feel like it is the weakest point of SmackDown. I don't know where Nia goes with that. I know you and I mentioned Charlotte Flair. I'm already dreading it. Just the mere fact that her name is being brought up so soon.
Are you ready for the return?
She will be back, whether it's next month or October, earliest October. But I don't know where Nia goes until then, Jason. What does she do? I know Mia Yim's been hanging around. Everybody else is kind of... Naomi's also hanging around as well. I mean, not really the most entertaining. I mean, they're not lighting the world on fire with that women's division over there.
No, I think you also have a rematch with Bayley. That would make sense. You get one more match out of that. Like you said, I think Michin has been hanging around for some reason that has yet to play out, so it wouldn't shock me if she got a title match, and that would be a TV match. I don't see that being a PLE match. And then by that point, I think Charlotte will be back, and you've got your queen versus queen. I said this over the weekend. Nia Jax does not need to worry about Tiffany Stratton cashing in her Money in the Bank. She has to worry about Charlotte Flair cashing in her Charlotte in the Bank, because it is coming soon in these next couple of months, I do believe. And I think the title probably ends up going, well, the title may go from Nia to Charlotte, and maybe that is the moment where Tiffany cashes in. Because remember, they're trying to pad Charlotte Flair's run to get her to 16 as quickly as possible. So what is she at now? She at 14 now?
I think so.
Okay, so if she were to beat Nia and get 15, and then Tiffany cashes in on her and beats her, then the chase for 16 begins. Right? So I could easily see them doing that.
God, this sound. I'm hearing you talk, and it just sounds so cringe.
I'm insulted by that.
Not you, but the fact that
you need to clarify that, by the way, for the people tuning in, motherfucker.
The fact that you're talking about padding her stats and like, yeah, we're just doing whatever we can to get to number 16. I'm like,
yeah, but that's what they're doing. Are you gonna tell me I'm wrong?
I'm like, I'm listening to you talk, and I'm like, I can't think of one memorable thing this woman's done as far as a championship run in her entire career.
And tell me I'm wrong. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. It
so there you go.
But you're not wrong. It's so bad. Like, does she win first and then Tiffany cashes in, or does Tiffany win it and then Charlotte chases Tiffany? I mean, do you see this administration doing the same exact thing that Vince did? Because every time Charlotte came back from an injury or, a sabbatical, a vacation, she could be out swimming with dolphins fucking 4 weeks in a row with Andrade. First week back, there's a championship match. Here's your championship. It's like every program she's in is a championship program. I mean, wouldn't it be better off and ease the fans' minds to come on in and maybe start a feud with Bayley without a championship on the line, or start a feud with,
with who?
Blair Davenport. I don't know, somebody.
But I mean, it would be, but just I think the division right now is feeling a little lackluster. And maybe it's just the fact that there's no real compelling stories right now. Like, we see compelling stories on Raw, and there's a compelling story with the Bloodline at the top of SmackDown now that Roman is back. There's really nothing going on with the women's division right now as far as SmackDown is concerned. So I do fear that when Charlotte does come back, they may look at it and go, well, where else would you slot in, the GOAT in their mind, right? Well, you should want to go right after the championship, and we haven't seen her and Tiffany yet. Like, that's a match I look forward to. I think that could be a WrestleMania match next year.
Yes.
We could be looking at Tiffany Stratton against Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania. So it could go either way. Either, Charlotte wins the title and gets cashed in on, and then she has to chase. I think that's the more likely scenario. Or Charlotte wins, and then Tiffany, but see, so what would Tiffany do? I mean, would she call her shot? Doesn't really fit her gimmick. Like, she seems like the kind of person that would cash in on you after you just had a hard-fought match.
Yeah.
So I think it's more likely, that Charlotte probably would get 15 and then would get cashed in on and then would have to chase, and we get a proper match between them in Las Vegas.
Is Charlotte coming back as a heel, though, or a babyface? I can't do it.
Babyface. Get ready. You've got heel Queen Nia. So if you're going to do queen against queen, you're not going to have two heel queens. Charlotte's going to come back. Everybody's going to love seeing her back. She's going to get a great reaction. Remember the last time she came back? What happened the last time she had a big return, right? That night. What happened?
She won the championship, and she got cheered. She got cheered big time.
She got cheered and won the championship from Ronda Rousey.
Yeah. Don't remind me.
I'm gonna remind you, because apparently you forgot.
No, I didn't forget. I'm just delaying the inevitable. I don't want to hear or know about her winning any more championships, but I know that's going to happen. We'll see, but I know Nia right now rewarded for the solid work she's done up until this point. Whether or not you enjoyed the match with Bayley, she's the women's champion coming out of SummerSlam, and Tiffany Stratton is still looming about with that Money in the Bank briefcase. So we will see how all of this transpires going into Berlin, and then obviously Bad Blood. But there is still some sort of partnership there between the two. Drew McIntyre and CM Punk, special guest referee Seth Rollins, with a ton of throwbacks to 1997, Bret the Hitman Hart and The Undertaker. And I thought...
Just the way Punk was dressed. Punk had the pink on.
He did have the pink on. Rollins was playing his best HBK. And I know a lot of people coming into this, Jason, were going to be looking at CM Punk under the microscope heavily to see if, A, he stays healthy, B, how he moves after a huge layoff, and C, if he could maintain that. I know a lot of people were kind of ragging on him for the fact that he was blown up in 5 minutes. I know that's a huge thing with a lot of people keeping an eye on Punk. How fast does he get blown up? I wasn't paying attention to any of that shit.
Yeah.
I was looking all over social media. But
you know what?
Listen, after what he's been through, he wrestled in the Royal Rumble. That is not a singles match per se. I guess you could go back to his last televised singles match was legitimately against Samoa Joe for the real AEW World Championship at All In last year. Obviously, he wrestled Dominic on a couple of house shows to get ready for the Royal Rumble, Madison Square Garden, Los Angeles. We mentioned that last week. But, I mean, there was a huge layoff for him. So, to me, with what we saw at SummerSlam, with what he did, I thought he nailed it. I thought he looked as good as he could for the situation that he was put in, and I'm just glad that he came out healthy, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've had my issues with CM Punk before, all the stuff that went down in AEW and all that. The guy, he got hurt in January. He has not wrestled a match at all since January, if you count the Royal Rumble. That's 7 months. It's even longer if you want to go back to like a major singles match. I was not expecting him to come right out of the gate, all just like a house of fire, and he was going to be doing all sorts of big moves or anything like that. That's part of the reason why I think Rollins was also in there. They were able to pace themselves. I thought Punk looked fine. You could tell he kind of tried to put on a little bit of muscle. I think even the announcers mentioned that during the match. I thought physically he looked like he was in the best shape I've seen him in a while. And I thought he was fine. I mean, people who were crapping on him for looking slow or anything like that, blown up, give me a break. Again, this is his first match back, and I thought he looked fine. McIntyre, I thought he did a great job as far as... Well, McIntyre's been doing a great job just all around for months now on social media, on his promos, in the ring, he's great. Rollins played his part perfectly. He did what he was supposed to do. I thought it added some intrigue to the match. And a lot of people took issue with this. And I'm curious to see if you did too. I didn't. But a lot of people I saw bitching and moaning about the fact that, the entire match was built around a bracelet. It was all about a bracelet. Like a 50-cent bracelet. Yeah, well, guess what? They were able to get that bracelet over. Because it's a story device. It doesn't matter that it's a 50-cent bracelet. It could be, literally, it could be a fucking coin wrapper off the floor. If it has sentimental value to CM Punk, if it means something to him, then Drew McIntyre, wanted to take it away from him to mess with his head and get under his skin. And that's what the story was all about. In this case, it was something that had value to him because it's got his dog's name on there, his wife's name on there. I don't know if they ever mentioned who gave it to him. Was it just a fan, maybe?
A fan made it for him, yeah.
Okay, so a fan made it for him. So the fact that it's like a cheap little bracelet doesn't matter. It means something to Punk. And McIntyre took it away from him. And then Rollins picked it up off the mat just to, get it out of the way. And then he saw him wearing it. Now, that was a little goofy. That's one of those dumb babyface things that I hate. He had McIntyre up for the GTS. And instead of hitting the GTS, he sees the bracelet on Rollins' wrist. And so he drops Drew, to go argue with him. That's why Michael Cole was telling the story at the end of the match, like, CM Punk cost himself. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. He looked like an idiot in there. But I didn't have an issue with them using the bracelet because, again, it's a story device. I don't know why that's so hard for people to understand.
That's very... People are fucking weird, man, honestly. I didn't have a problem with that. I didn't have a problem with Punk dropping McIntyre in the GTS because he saw Rollins wearing the bracelet, because Rollins did the right thing as a referee. He was looking out for everybody. He was keeping it safe. I believed him as far as the storyline purpose for that. I don't think he was trying to fuck with Punk in any way. after all that we've seen that Punk has taken away from McIntyre, the fact that this bracelet, 50 cents bracelet, means so much to Punk, and McIntyre took that away from him. I mean, what else does McIntyre have to take away from Punk if this is the one thing that means to him is his whole world? His wife is his whole world. Larry's his whole world. The fact that this bracelet meant so much to him, why would anybody have a problem with that? If it made the story better, why are you bitching and moaning? I don't get, people are fucking bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, what's he gonna do? He can break into his gym bag and steal his muffins or something. I mean, what else is he gonna take away from this man? It's got his wife's name on there. And by the way, because of that, and McIntyre name dropped her again on Raw last night. I think we're getting an AJ Lee appearance. Maybe a Bad Blood. Maybe she'll be in the crowd. But I think we're definitely gonna get her on TV at some point in this feud.
I think that would be A+ if that's the case. Bad Blood seems like a good spot for that. Hell in a Cell seems like a great spot for that. As far as the match is concerned, I thought what they did, I know, listen, I would be lying to you if I said I was like, oh my God, blown away about what they did in the ring together. I expected this barn burner, fucking heated, just volcanic feud between two guys that hate each other. I didn't really get that sense. I felt like with Rollins in there, it was a little bit more theatric. I felt like with the bracelet being in there, it was a little bit more story-driven. I wanted a little bit more intensity. Maybe that's just me being picky, but in the end result, I thought they delivered a great match. And the throwbacks to 1997 were great, where the steel chair almost came into play just like it did in 1997. And Rollins stopped from hitting one of the guys, and I believe the pin count as well.
Hesitated.
He hesitated with the pin count just like Michaels did. What a great visual. He looked at Brett before he made the 3, and Howard Finkel made the call for Brett being the new WWF champion. Just a great callback. And I love those callbacks. I think that's great. That added a lot to the match itself. I love this. I thought it was great. I'm very, very much looking forward to their next match, which I hope is a lot better. Hope it's a little bit more intense, but I thought they hit a home run.
Yeah, and it's only the first match, so maybe they were holding back on that because they are going to have a second and maybe a third. So that would make sense to me. By the way, 70s born, 90s swag in the chat says, who names the dog Larry? If you don't know, I mean, Larry, it's Larry Talbot. Larry, the Wolfman. Have you seen Larry the dog? He looks like the Wolfman. So that's
I think there. Larry is a fine-looking specimen, a handsome man is Larry.
Yeah, but that's where the name comes from. So for those who don't know, now you know.
Jesse thinks Larry is hideous, and I absolutely disagree. Larry's not everybody's cup of coffee.
Larry is unique. Larry is
that's a good word. Unique. He's a unique specimen.
He's a unique creature that is unlike any I've ever seen before.
Larry's merch is selling more than Solo's merch. Solo Sikoa? I wouldn't doubt it.
Not my merch. What are you talking about?
Anyway, I thought that was a great match. Love the story. Very much looking forward to where they go next into Berlin. We should get another one-on-one match there, and then obviously culminates in the third and final match here. Bad Blood. I was going to say Blood and Guts. Bad Blood and Hell in a Cell. Can't wait to see what they do next. We got the World Heavyweight Championship. Damian Priest and Gunther for the World Heavyweight title. Gunther, as you guys know, is the new World Heavyweight Champion, and the story of the match here was Balor turning on Damian Priest. And the way that they did it, Jason, I love the fact that it was off of a razor's edge, and Gunther, I think he rolled to the ropes like he would usually do if you were in that case to try and...
I didn't like that. I didn't like that. He had to, I guess, for the spot, but just the way it came off, it didn't look good.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes Priest look a little silly without pulling him back away from the ropes. But I thought with Balor putting Gunther's boot on the rope, stopping the count, and then turning his back and giving you that just nasty, smug look away from Priest, and the Priest had to look up at the big screen in the stadium to see what actually happened on the instant replay. I thought that was a great spot. And then Priest obviously just enraged, wanted to get at Balor.
Reached through the ropes, grabbed him, googled him by the throat.
Instead of go for Gunther and beat Gunther, I mean, he was just enraged at that point, and then that cost him the match, put him in the sleeper, and then goodbye, Gunther's the new champion. The match itself was great. It was probably the best
match of the night.
Absolutely. I thought it was the best in-ring match of the night. And we've been kind of saying it on previous episodes of TNT that this match was probably going to be one of Priest's best matches. And I think he actually went out there and had his best match in the title run. It might have been the best match he's done all year, quite honestly. But I thought he looked great. Gunther looked great. And Priest is a babyface, man. I'm actually looking forward to seeing what he does.
Look, mission accomplished. You know, this story was designed ultimately to get him over as a babyface when the split happened. And it worked. You saw the reaction. You heard the reaction last night on Raw that he and Rhea got. Like, I mean, the crowd was going nuts. So I look at it as a huge success, even though people are going to look back and some people might crap on the reign that he had. Look, it wasn't any sort of memorable championship run, but I think it served its purpose. It helped elevate him to that next level and elevated him to be one of the top baby faces on the brand. Him going in there and having one of the best matches of the year that he's had or of his career is not surprising given who he was in the ring with. That doesn't take away from the other really good matches he's had this year. So you can't just give the credit to Gunther. You know, Priest stepped up in all of these matches that he had, whether it was against, you know, Jey Uso or if it was against Seth Rollins or McIntyre or any of these people. I thought that he killed it as far as in-ring is concerned. And towards the end of his run, like on promos and stuff, right before he lost the title, it really started to feel like he was coming into his own, like in the role. And then he lost the championship. And he said last night, well, it didn't really bother me that you cost me the title because I could just win it back. And I'm like, brother, you ain't winning that title back anytime soon. I got news for you. But yeah, no, I mean, it was the best match of the night for me at SummerSlam. I thought they both did a great job. It told a great story. And I'm looking forward now to seeing how this story plays out. You know, they have me invested now to see Priest get his revenge and Balor get what he has coming to him. And I don't know if you want to talk about it here, but the explanation that Balor gave last night and how it tied into something that happened a year ago is just fantastic. Because it would have been very easy for him to make a comment about how, you know, you've kind of cast me aside and it's just jealousy because you became the champion. But it's more than that. You know, we come to find out that it goes all the way back to a match that happened over a year ago in July of last year, where he felt rightfully that Damian Priest cost him, you know, distracted him and cost him the World Heavyweight Championship. And then one offhanded comment, you know, that Priest made to him about basically man up, you know, later that night, man up, get over it. And he's been plotting and seething now for an entire year. I mean, that's playing the long game there if you're Finn Balor. But I just love how they were able to circle back, and it just makes it seem like everything that we've seen, every segment we've sat through, it meant something.
Yeah, I love that as well. I did mention that on my end last night when I covered Raw. It was at Money in the Bank last year where Balor and Rollins had a World Heavyweight Championship match, and Damian Priest just was on the outside. He got distracted, cost him the match. And then you see from that moment on, things just kind of snowballing, little pieces of dialogue or little, you know, hints of body language from Damian Priest or something that Priest said or something Rhea Ripley said and something that Balor kind of didn't really agree with. The Judgment Day operated as no leader. There's no leaders in the Judgment. Everybody operated as equal. And Balor really made a point to mention that. We were supposed to be equals. There was never supposed to be a leader in the Judgment Day. But, you know, when Rhea Ripley won the World Championship, she was kind of throwing her weight around. And Damian Priest won the World Championship. He threw his weight around even more so than he did previously. And Balor never forgot any of that. And Balor just stood there, bit his tongue, and let Priest say and do what he wanted. And, you know, it's just a great story. And I feel like with the previous administration, I don't want to shit on them completely because they did some things right. They did a lot of things wrong. But the level of storytelling that we're getting now, Jason, I mentioned this on Twitter, the cohesiveness between segments and the things that you watch week to week, it's almost as if WWE is making it a point to not insult the fans' intelligence. And that's the biggest takeaway from what he's doing now and what this administration is doing. I feel like, to me, that is the biggest change and the most welcome change compared to what we were getting. Week to week matters. And if you miss something, There's always a little detail that he's throwing in there, a backstage segment, someone standing in the back that you got to keep an eye out for. It's like you got to have fucking your spyglass on, and I love it. They're always keeping you on your toes, and the fact they don't want to insult your intelligence means the world to me as a fan.
It's two things. It's what you just said, but the other thing also, the biggest change, and one that I like, is the fact that, and Chad Gable spoke to this after he re-signed with the company. He was on a podcast, and he said that Triple H tries to find a role for everybody on the show. And they may not have a significant role every week, but he tries to find something for them to do so they can at least consistently get airtime and be on the show and not get forgotten about. Now, that's not always the case with some of the women in the women's division necessarily, but he is, making good on that. You see it with people in the mid-card, whether it's the Alpha Academy or someone like Bronson Reed or whoever. But consistency is so important. And that's one of the issues with AEW that they have, because they have so many people on that roster. And not everybody gets consistent time on TV. And I'm sure to them it can be very frustrating, but there's just so much talent. And some people can get lost in the shuffle. So at least he is making a noticeable effort to change that and give people something to do on the show, even if it's not necessarily the most exciting thing in the world. Case in point, anything the Final Testament does. Or this little feud now we have with Damage Control and Sonya Deville's group, right? Not terribly exciting, but like Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark, they're on the show every week. And there was a time in WWE where that wouldn't have been the case. You'd see them every now and then. Otherwise, they'd be sitting in catering, twiddling their thumbs. So those two things, I think, are the biggest changes of this Paul Levesque era so far that is most noticeable. That and the changes in production. Camera shots and things like that. They were experimenting on Saturday with that referee cam. What'd you think of that referee cam? I don't think that's going to last.
I didn't really care for it. I mean, it looked a little, it looked a little cheap, honestly. I didn't really care to see that again.
Yeah, apparently either the camera itself or I guess the pack that was attached to it fell off of Rollins like at the beginning of the match, and he was just like, "Yeah, get rid of this." That was the end of that. I don't know if we're going to see that again. But I appreciate them trying new things. I think that's great.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, they could do a turnbuckle cam like AEW used to do. I mean, that's cool. I don't know if they want to incorporate something like that, but yeah, I agree completely. I love the changes that they've made and the fact that we're not getting our intelligence insulted. That to me, that is unbelievable. But as far as SummerSlam and the main event, it was not unbelievable. The match itself was not. Cody Rhodes and Solo Sikoa for the WWE Championship, Bloodline Rules. Jason, we went about 16 minutes, and I said this on Friday night, right before SummerSlam on my end when I covered SmackDown. I'm like, all right, we got Bloodline Rules. We're going to get a couple of steel chairs, a kendo stick, some trash cans. We're going to get a nice war between these two. After what Cody's been through, I could see it. And the last thing anybody wants, because nobody really believes Solo is going to take the title from Cody, is a fucking scientific one-on-one standard pro wrestling match between these two. For 16 minutes, that's exactly what we got. And then we finally got Bloodline Rules about the last 10 minutes in, and everybody just expected at that point, we got Randy Orton, we got Kevin Owens, we got the Tongans, and then we get Roman Reigns. That's all anybody was really waiting for. And Roman Reigns comes out to aid Cody Rhodes in beating Solo Sikoa, and the original tribal chief is back. And now Solo Sikoa has to deal with that on Friday Night SmackDown, which I'm very excited about. As far as the match is concerned, what was your biggest takeaway from the match? Did you feel the same way that I did, that you were bored almost 75% of the way through up until the end? And how did you feel with them not doing Bloodline Rules for the entire match?
Yeah, it made for a very dull first 15 minutes of the match. And I think that's a big part of why the people were so quiet for it. Because, well, two things. Number one, the biggest thing, they were waiting for people to interfere.
Yeah.
And so with the addition of the Bloodline Rule stipulation, they knew the Bloodline was going to get involved, and they knew Roman Reigns was probably going to be there. And so it's almost like, well, all this stuff that you're doing now, all these moves that you're doing, it doesn't matter. That coupled with the fact that it was Bloodline Rules, anything goes, and we just didn't get a Bloodline Rules match for the first 15 minutes. It's almost like a switch got flipped 15 minutes in, and Like Cody at one point goes outside and grabs the steps. And I said in my review, I said, oh, he finally remembered that Bloodline Rules was the stipulation here. It took him fucking 18 minutes to get there. You could have been using those steps in the first 5 minutes of the match. So, yeah, it just didn't work. And that's a big part of why the crowd was so flat. I mean, you don't want the crowd to be dead like that for your SummerSlam main event. I did, however, enjoy it more than I did Tribal Combat last year.
Yes.
And I know that's low praise, but it was better than last year's SummerSlam main event. But, yeah, it was just very, very dull and very boring until we got to the end. And the end is really all anybody was waiting for anyway.
Yeah, and the end consisted of two things. Obviously, Roman and him coming out and helping Cody retain the championship. A lot of people were making narratives about what happens next and why would Roman come out and help Cody. I don't think Roman was out there helping Cody. No. He didn't come out there and specifically say, I'm going to wake up today, I'm going to help Cody Rhodes retain the WWE Championship. No, that's not the reason why Roman was out there. Roman was out there because of all the disrespect that Solo Sikoa has been throwing at him since WrestleMania, or at least the SmackDown after WrestleMania when we got this new Rebel Bloodline group. The fact of the matter is, Roman is going to aid Cody because if you guys were paying attention to SmackDown and the things that Cody has been saying, I think it was either on the Raw or SmackDown after WrestleMania. I'm not really sure which one it was, but I know he led a thank you Roman chant on one of those shows when he was celebrating that week winning the WWE Championship. And then as of this past Friday, he said something along the lines of, I'll wait till the original Tribal Chief comes back, but right now I'll take the imposter or the cosplay version of the Tribal Chief. So Cody Rhodes has always, in anything that he said after WrestleMania, always acknowledged Roman as the original Tribal Chief. So if you're Roman Reigns, you're looking at that. I might not like him, but he's acknowledged me, and I'm going to respect him as a man. That's why he was out there. So I don't know what you got on your end, Jason. I know a lot of people were like, well, he helped Cody Rhodes. No, he didn't help Cody Rhodes. He's out there respecting Cody Rhodes because of Cody Rhodes always showed respect back to Roman.
Yeah, the one thing I did not want them to do going into this match was do a finish where it looked like Cody only won because Roman helped him.
Yeah.
The story they wanted to tell, though, was when Roman comes down to the ring, who's he going to go after? It was very much like, I joked, I used the old Bobby Heenan line when Hogan walked out of Bash of the Beach, like, whose side is he on?
Yeah.
That's what they were going for there. So it had to happen that way. If that's what their idea was, they could do that after the match. So he got in the ring and he gave Solo the Superman punch and the spear and every respect when it was over between Roman and Cody. That's kind of how they went off the air. So I thought it was fine. Everybody got out of it what they wanted. They got Roman back. He got the big reaction. They've already advertised him for SmackDown on Friday, so we should get to hear from him for the first time. And don't forget, we still have Jimmy Uso. The biggest surprise to me is that no Jimmy and no Jay being involved. Because I thought Jay was going to come out to maybe fight off Jacob. Jay and Cody, they're friends, former tag team champions. Jay really did end up not being on the show at all, and that surprised me. So Jimmy still has to come back. Paul Heyman will be back at some point. And they can really milk this for a while until we get a lot of the kind of OG players back together. And I just think that there's a lot of story to be told there. Like if Jey Uso is going to be brought into this, it shouldn't be willingly. I mean, he should be upset and not want to associate with these people after the way he was treated. So you can play that out for a few weeks until finally he comes around and the Usos are back and then take this, maybe Sami Zayn is involved, and then take the story from there into War Games. So there's a lot of good storytelling yet to be told there. Jacob fought too. Did he really get hurt or not? He obviously got hurt. I don't think he got hurt seriously, but he was going around in the walking boot. I don't think that was all just a work. I think he probably dinged his shin. I mean, if you saw the replay, he smashed his leg pretty good against the edge of that table. And I thought that the idea was, okay, he is going to sell a leg injury because they don't want him to be able to get up and fight off Roman when he comes out. The whole spot was he's going to get in the ring and who's he going to go after? And he goes after Solo, right? It didn't feel like Jacob was supposed to be involved in any of that. But I do think he probably hurt himself. Hopefully not seriously. That was scary, though. If that was a total sell job, he was selling his ass off.
Well,
Right?
I mean, he's scared the fuck. He's
around.
scared the ever-living shit out of me. I'm like, I think that's the only thing outside Roman, obviously, that people were talking about in that main event. It's Jacob Fatu really hurt. And I said the same thing you said. I started my SummerSlam review off with that. I'm like, this is what I think. And I said exactly what you just said. I feel like if WWE wanted Fatu out there to play a role in creating this illusion that Solo had Cody's number and Fatu was out there to deliver that splash through the table, I feel like selling the ankle injury was the best way to go about it, because if he didn't and he gets right back up like he usually does because he's a fucking beast, and Roman Reigns comes out there, what are you going to do? Have him just sit out there and not attack Roman Reigns and not stare down Roman Reigns and come to Solo's aid? It's like the one thing that you want to do is work around that, pretend he's injured. I do think that he's a little banged up. I don't think it's as severe as people are making it out to be, but he did such a good job that it created this illusion for himself to not get in there. And the face-to-face with Roman Reigns, that's a big fucking deal. You do not want anything regarding that right now, because it's about Roman and Solo. It's not about Roman and Fatu. So I honestly think that most of it was a planned spot, but I do think that he got a little banged up because the replay looked brutal.
Yeah, the good news is he was in a walking boot, which means he's walking. It's not like he was on crutches, not like he was being wheeled around. So hopefully nothing serious. It would be terribly shitty timing to lose somebody like him in the middle of this story heading into Survivor Series. So, hopefully nothing serious. But now things are going to pick up, in a big way with this story, which is what SmackDown really needs. So the timing is perfect. And then we'll go from there and we'll see. I heard about this agreement that Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce reached yesterday, which is why we got Grayson Waller and Austin Theory on Raw. We still don't know what Nick Aldis got in return. We have to wait until Friday.
A lot of people were like, oh, it's Jey Uso and Sami Zayn. I'm like, well, where did you hear that from? I think people are just pulling names out of thin air.
I initially thought the same thing, though, until, Jay was in the back last night telling Sammy, we're going to go after the Raw Tag Team titles against the Judgment Day because we got unfinished business with them. So I don't know how they're going to work at least Jay into the SmackDown side of things. It wouldn't be difficult, though, and I like that. I like that we should be getting more of the GMs working together, whether it's a trade or just like a temporary arrangement. We know now who's challenging Gunther at Clash at the Castle, at Bash in Berlin. I got my countries mixed up. We know who his challenger is going to be for the World Heavyweight Championship. And some people may have an issue with Randy Orton coming over, even though he's on the other brand. But it makes total sense, given the story.
They explained it to you right there, blatantly, right in front of your face last night.
Yes.
What's the problem?
Yes, but some people were upset, and they're like, well, if you complain about people crossing brands. Yeah, but they took the time to explain it. Triple H himself, we saw after King of the Ring, he made the comment, like, we're going to get a rematch. We got to get a round 2 between these two guys.
Yeah.
So he's allowing Randy to cross the border for 1 month, and then guess what? Randy's going to go back to SmackDown. Now, I didn't get to hear your take on this, but Randy Orton is going to be wrestling Gunther, and he's not going to win the World Heavyweight title.
No.
So the question is now, is it going to be Cody and Randy next? It should be. It should be, and I hope it is. The explanation is right there for why and how you get to a heel Randy Orton against Cody Rhodes.
Yes.
What did you say? And then I'll let you know what
right at the top of my Monday Night Raw review, I said, all right, this is how we get to Randy and Cody. Randy is challenging Gunther. We'll Jason and I will talk about that in a second, because I actually love the match and I'm glad that they're doing it. I feel like if Randy's going to be challenging Gunther, a lot of people are thinking that he's not going to be on SmackDown doing SmackDown things. Of course he is. He's not going to be solely on Raw. He's going to go to SmackDown. He's going to continue helping Cody Rhodes against the Bloodline. He's going to continue to get his ass beat by the Bloodline because he continues to help Cody because of their rich history together. And when he takes all of that energy that he's given Cody into his match with Gunther, he's going to lose. And then he's going to blame Cody. And then he's going to turn heel on Cody. And then, boom, we got heel Randy Orton. So whatever happens with him helping Cody is going to have a direct effect on him losing to Gunther. And then he's going to take that and blame Cody Rhodes for it. That was my explanation.
Possible. It's possible. I think there's a simpler explanation for it. Randy Orton, he came back at Survivor Series last year, right? And his team won War Games. He was with Cody and Seth and Jay and Sammy. You go back to the beginning of this year. Randy Orton was in the WWE title match at the Royal Rumble. He lost. He was in the Elimination Chamber. He lost. He went to WrestleMania. He lost. He went to France for Backlash. He lost. He wrestled Gunther in the King of the Ring. He lost. He went to Money in the Bank in the six-man tag. He lost. He's going to go to Bash in Berlin and lose again. And there has to come a point where this man is just going to snap. Because he is sick and tired of losing, and he's being a good friend to Cody or whoever, right? Owens, Cody. He's looking out for other people's interests. And all he has done, all he has gotten out of it is nothing but losing and losing and losing. And then when he finally snaps and goes heel, it makes all the sense in the world, because how many fucking times can this guy lose before he just absolutely loses his mind? And that's the simplest explanation you need. Just point out the fact he has not won a PLE match all year. That's it. He put himself on the line for Cody as well. He got taken out by the Bloodline again. He's done looking out for others and being friends with people, because it's gotten him nowhere. And in fact, if that's what leads to the turn, you can get, before you even do Randy and Cody, you could do Randy and KO. Right? They have to feud at some point. They can't just be friends.
Yeah.
So that to me, that's how I look at it. Like, he has a terrible record this year. And that has to be part of the story when the time comes. It has to play into it.
All right, so I like it. It makes a lot of sense. We both make sense here. I think yours is a lot more simpler, like you said. I feel like with what you said with him losing, are you alluding to if he's lost every PLE, he's eventually going to wrestle Cody on a PLE? Does he beat Cody? Does he become the WWE champion? Are we looking at Cody dropping the championship and then eventually winning it back from Randy Orton?
I believe so.
Okay.
That's what I would do.
I like it.
Why does Cody have to hold the belt for a year?
He doesn't.
I mean, he can. It's possible that if they're going to do him and Rock, if they are going to do that at WrestleMania, Rock may not. Maybe the story is like, Rock, okay, he doesn't want him to lose, so you got to keep the belt on Cody to keep Rock happy for when Rock comes back. That's always possible. But no, I mean, if Randy Orton turns heel and he challenges Cody, I think he should beat Cody to win the WWE Championship, and then they go back and forth, and Cody ends up winning the belt back from Randy.
I like it. I think that's exactly the way they're going to go. I think that's the way that they should go. And as far as Gunther is concerned, I love the match. I think it is a top-tier match for a pay-per-view such as this. Gunther is always, I know he's alluded to right before SummerSlam, he wants to walk into Berlin as the WWE champion, and he got his wish. No bigger main event for him than Randy Orton. It solidifies his title run right off the top, wrestling somebody like Randy Orton. The match that they had at the King of the Ring was skewed because of his shoulder being off the mat. Triple H that night said that it was going to happen. We didn't really know when, but he said that night that he's going to look into it and that a rematch is probably going to be on the horizon. We just didn't know when. So if you're Randy Orton and you're looking at SummerSlam, and Triple H has already kind of put that out there in the universe, and you know that, and you go talk to Triple H, hey, listen, bro, you want to make good on your promise that you made back at King of the Ring in Saudi in May? And then Triple H is like, yeah, sure, you want your title match? There you go. Randy Orton picked his spot. Just put yourself in his shoes. Gunther's the champion. I want my match. You know, it's just convenient that you're that you're the world heavyweight champion. So now I get what I want, and it's great. So people shitting on it for whatever reason. I mean, they don't really think, and they just want to jump to conclusions. They put it out there for you. It was going to happen. Randy Orton said Triple H said it was going to happen. What more of an explanation do you need? Because I know Jason and I would be the first to tell you, what's the reason for the draft? Or why are they breaking the draft rules? We've been through this time and time and time again. So we don't like it. But in this case, I think it makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Storyline wise, I don't have any issue with it. And I didn't see anybody complaining about the fact that we're getting Orton and Gunther. I think people are pretty much on board with that as a match. It's a big marquee name, too. I mean, you could have had Gunther and, you know, Ilya Dragunov or somebody. And believe me, that would have been a fantastic match. But this is a much bigger marquee match for that show. And it'll mean more when Gunther beats him.
I agree. We're going to talk Monday Night Raw now. Monday Night Raw was at least a top 2 Monday Night Raw for the entire year of 2024. I think it was one of the best television shows that the current administration has produced since Triple H has taken over. we got a lot that happened last night. That was just one of the things that happened last night. Randy Orton challenged Gunther for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship in Bash in Berlin. We got the other big thing that happened last night was a promo between Punk and Seth Rollins where Drew McIntyre interfered. But before that, just take those three guys. They're in the ring. There was a segment that happened before that, Jason, where we got Sheamus and we got Ludwig Kaiser in the opening match. Bronson Reed approached Adam Pearce last night and said, well, I beat Sheamus last week. Where's my match? And Adam Pearce kind of blew him off. And Bronson Reed was like, all right, you don't want to help me? It looks like I'm going to have to make my own way to the top. We didn't know what that meant. We thought he was going to do something next week, or he'd attack Sheamus or something lowbrow. Come to find out, after that segment, Punk was so obsessed with the bracelet that he chased McIntyre into the fans and up the staircase and into the mezzanine, and Rollins was left in the ring by himself, and Bronson Reed made himself into a legit star last night. If there's if there is one moment that man is going to look back at when his career is over and say, that was the moment where I took myself to the next level. Last night was it. 6 tsunamis. Rollins was, quote unquote, internally bleeding. He was legitimately spitting up blood. And it was one of the most savage attacks that I've seen in many, many years on Monday Night Raw. And I'm a big fan of Bronson Reed, but man, he took himself from the doldrums of the mid-card to possibly being a breakout star with one segment last night. And a lot of people tend to say, he's got a couple of Bam Bam Bigelow qualities. He's got a couple of Big Van Vader qualities. Man, if last night was any indication, if he's the type of heel that he portrayed himself to be last night, I can't wait to see what he does, man. That was an unbelievable attack and a star-making performance last night.
Well, it's funny, those Vader comparisons. I was getting Vader Monsoon vibes from that angle last night.
Yeah.
When Vader attacked Gorilla Monsoon many years ago. That was my favorite part of the entire night. It's just a fantastic segment. And what was funny to me is each time he would go back up to the top rope, the fans were like cheering and getting more and more into it. This great baby face that they're so concerned about on the mat is like spitting up blood, and they're like, one more time. And then finally, when they realize all these idiot referees and agents are like, oh, maybe we should roll him out of the way to safety. And so they roll him, and everybody booed because they wanted to see him get squashed for a 7th time. And that shot of Bronson Reed after they rolled him away, and he sits down on the top rope with his arms crossed, and he just looked like King Kong standing up there. Like, okay, I told you guys I'm going to have to take matters into my own hands, and guess what? Boy, did he ever. So it was a tremendous segment. I loved every second of it, and I love the fact that now it gives them a reason to separate Punk and Rollins for a while. So they could put some separation between them and come back to it, whenever they're good and ready to, and let Punk go off and do his thing with Drew McIntyre. So you made a comment earlier about, I think you said you're not sure how they can hold off on that until WrestleMania. I think they could easily hold off on Punk and Rollins until WrestleMania because they just did it last night. They just gave you a reason why Rollins is going to go off and do his own thing, right? Now, maybe he's only gone for 2 weeks and he wrestles in Berlin against Bronson Reed. Maybe it was a way to write him out for a little while longer and they do the match later on. That's a PLE match, though.
Yes.
That should not be a TV match. That's got to be Berlin. Bad blood at the latest, but I don't think they're going to keep Rollins out for too long. And the match itself, I think, is going to be a banger. I think it's going to be a great match. Bronson Reed is in a weird spot right now because Gunther is the world champion. Bron Breaker is the intercontinental champion. I don't see where Bronson Reed fits into either of those. So he needs something to do. What better way for him to establish himself by demolishing one of the top baby faces on the entire show? So
a guy who's already cemented himself as a top guy who's, I don't want to say he's bulletproof, but Rollins, Rollins is pretty solid in his position. And I said this last night, if they're going to be doing this at Berlin, which I have every expectation that they will be, after the attack that we saw last night, there is absolutely no fucking way that Bronson Reed goes into a PLE and loses this match against Rollins. At least, if there's going to be at least 2 matches, he needs to win this first match in Berlin. If they do it again at Bad Blood, you can give Rollins his win back. But I hope that they solidify Reed as a top, as not really a top guy, but at least wherever he is now, further than that. That's what they need to do.
I wouldn't go so far as to say there's absolutely no way that they'll do. I mean, this is WWE we're talking about here. He could definitely lose, but I agree. I would not have him lose that first match. You can get 2 matches out of it. Do a proper program. It doesn't have to be a one and done type of thing. But I loved it. I love, and the way it came off. And again, I credited Michael Cole with how he sold Dominic turning on Rhea at SummerSlam. I thought he did a great job last night putting that over. Every time Reed would go back up to the top, Michael Cole was on commentary freaking out.
Yeah.
And just screaming, somebody stop this. This guy, he's out of his mind. And it just goes to show you both of those examples. They're great examples of how much commentary can really help put over a moment or a segment. And there were a lot of examples of bad commentary over the years, including with Michael Cole. Yeah, this was during the Vince era, where it actively distracted from what was going on in front of us. Or maybe he didn't have a whole lot of life to him. One thing that stands out in my mind, it was a segment when Bret Hart came back in 2010. And Vince had already kicked him in the balls, and they kind of set things in motion for their WrestleMania match. But it was the first segment where Bret punched Vince and was attacking him. And I'll never forget, it was like had to be Michael Cole, who just... It was just so matter of fact, like no life to the call. Like, dude, Bret just hit Vince in the head, and he's just like, boy, that moment's been a lot of years in the making. I'm like, what the fuck is this? The famous ECW call when Christian came back, and then you had, oh God, what was his name? He was the announcer on Todd Grisham. And it's like, it's Christian. Like, that was his big call. Like, oh, it's Christian. Like, it's like a fucking meme now. I can give you examples of bad commentary that takes away from a moment, but when you have somebody who is really doing a good job and hitting a home run, I think they should get credit for it. And look, we do commentary at a much smaller scale, and it's not an easy job. So yeah, and Michael Cole, he's been in the news lately too. He just signed a new deal, we found out earlier this spring, to stay with WWE, and he's shifting over, at least temporarily. I don't know if this is a permanent move, but he's shifting over to SmackDown when SmackDown moves to USA on September 13th.
Yeah, that news surprised me. That Ringer article with Michael Cole was really good. He said something along the lines, and correct me if I'm wrong, he said he was playing a character for most of his career, and then Triple H took over, and he's finally able to be himself. Which, I mean, that says so much about what Vince put those commentators through. I don't even want to know what Vince put those commentators through. I think one huge example was, I know you remember when we first got that first United Kingdom tournament and Michael Cole called it with Nigel McGuinness. I did not like Michael Cole at that point because I just thought he just wasn't my cup of tea on commentary on the main roster. But when he hit that United Kingdom tournament, I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? Where is this Michael Cole? And it kind of opened my eyes to see how good he really is. And now we're seeing, honestly, I think where he is right now, he's probably better than he's ever been. And I can't imagine not hearing him on a Raw or a SmackDown. And he deserves a ton of praise for what he's doing. But as far as where he's going on SmackDown, I don't think that stays because Monday Night Raw has clearly solidified itself as the A show, and he's the A guy. I can't see Netflix wanting Joe Tessitore on Netflix for $5 billion, leading the call there. I think they're going to want Michael Cole, and I think when Pat McAfee comes back from college football, we'll get the original team back together.
No, I could definitely see Netflix wanting. I mean, Joe Tessitore has a great sports pedigree as far as his announcing background is concerned. So it's not that I don't think Netflix wouldn't want him on the show. I just think that, like you said, Cole is their A guy. He and McAfee are their A team. And I think even in the Ringer article, it said in the Ringer story that when Raw moves to Netflix in January, Cole is going to be the play-by-play voice. So unless that was already outdated, they basically said Cole will be on Netflix. So I think it's a way to just kind of bring in Tessitore and establish him early on. SmackDown going back to USA, they may want their A guy on there, and then maybe in January things kind of flip-flop.
So Tessitore is going to be with Corey Graves on Monday.
He's going to be with Corey Graves. Michael Cole's going to be with Wade Barrett on SmackDown. I just assumed before all of this, my assumption was that you would have the 3-man booth on the 3-hour show. So I was wondering if when they went to Netflix, if they were going to have Tessitore, Corey, and Wade which is when Pessator signed, that's what they said it would be. They didn't say what show he'd be working on. They just said he'll be doing commentary with Graves and Wade Barrett. I was wondering if they would be on Raw because, 3-man booth. What do you need a 3-man booth on a 2-hour show for when you have a 3-hour show?
Yeah.
So we'll see. My guess is Cole does end up back on Raw in January. And I'm curious how Tessitore takes to it. I mean, he was there on Saturday. He had a little interaction with Michael Cole. He's got a good voice for it. Obviously, he's very experienced, his sports background. And I know you mentioned you know him, I think, from Holy Moly, which I didn't watch. Is that any good?
Yeah, it's a fun show. It's a mini golf tournament. It's a comedy duo with him and Rob Riggle. I thought they did great.
So probably in the spirit of Wipeout. I used to watch Wipeout a lot when it had John Anderson and who was the other John? It was John Anderson and oh God, somebody in the chat will remind me. I used to love Wipeout. But again, Tessitore is coming in. He's not the first sports guy that Nick Khan has brought in, and we saw what happened with Adnan Virk, Jimmy Smith.
I think this one's going to stick.
I hope so, for their sake. It's just been a revolving door, of people. It hasn't really worked out, so I hope it works out this time because they could really use another solid play-by-play voice on commentary.
Marcus Bennett in the chat. Is Solomonster actually Orange Cassidy? Yes, he is. Mm-hmm. Orange Cassidy is the host of the show, yes.
I thought you already knew that.
You guys are crazy.
John Henson. See, I knew somebody would know. John Henson.
They always know. Chat, thank you guys very much. 2,800 people in here. Thank you guys very much. We're nearing 800 likes. Thank you again. Super chats are open. Get them on in. Jason and I will hang out at the end of the show. We still got a lot more to go over here. But yes, Michael Cole has had a lot of memorable calls, especially in the last 2 or 3 years. So he is doing the best work of his career. And I'm excited for Tessitore as well. As far as Bronson Reed, absolutely. Can't wait to see what they do. That segment was incredible last night, as was the interaction between Rhea, Priest, and Balor. J.D. McDonough, he got the shit end of that. Rhea Ripley gave him a devastating headbutt. Liv Morgan, she did not escape Rhea Ripley the night, and she was destroyed, at least for a little bit, until Dominic came and saved her. And that segment got a lot of huge babyface reaction last night. The Terror Twins is what they're calling them, Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley. It's going to be a great story to see their rise as babyfaces, Jason. And like I alluded to earlier, I know you mentioned it as well, a mixed tag team match at Bash in Berlin is certainly on the horizon. And I think that is going to be an unbelievable atmosphere with the amount of heat that Rhea gets as a babyface and the amount of heel heat that Dominic gets on his end with Liv now. I think Berlin's going to be an amazing atmosphere for these four.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And all these international PLEs usually have these hot crowds. And this is their first time doing a major show in Berlin. So I have high hopes for it. And hey, what I said before, right? Maybe we'll get a little tease of Rhea and Dom.
Yeah.
And it'll be brief, like a brief little stare down. She wants to get him. And the referee says, no, you got to get out of the ring. But I still think that, I'm telling you, man, there's the potential to do something fun there if they were willing to do it. I don't know if they are or not. But.
When was the last time she actually physically got involved with one of the guys? Well, what did she do? She slammed somebody?
She body slammed somebody on the outside, I think, on the floor.
We at least got to get that then.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying you could do a little bit more than that even. I mean, I think Dominic is going to get, a riptide at some point. I mean, he almost has to.
Yeah.
I would think.
I mean, that's listen, I'll take it. I mean, again, a headbutt.
Oh, he'll take it too. He'll take it and he'll enjoy it because he's living life right now.
Don't worry, Liv will lick his wounds. He'll be fine.
Literally.
Yeah, that was a great segment last night. I'm excited for that. We'll go over what the projected Bash in Berlin card could be in a second. The last thing that happened last night, the Wyatt Sicks made their in-ring debut to the I know a lot of the American-made fans of Chad Gable and the Creeds. That's their new name now, by the way. They got new theme music as well. I was hoping that they would get their old theme music back, but now they just got more new themes and terrible themes at that.
Well, do you think that they should get the Hulk Hogan WCW theme?
Yes.
Which was literally called American-made.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whatever they got to do, get it back. I like the name. I think a nice rebranding and the fact that they all synchronize in ring gear looks great. I think them as a group looks great. But I think, Jason, everybody kind of realized going into this it was inevitable that they were going to lose But the one thing, no matter what people thought of the outcome, everybody was wondering what the Wyatt Sicks would do and how they would be portrayed, and was it going to be spooky, and was there going to be weird lighting and fucking theatrics? No, nobody wrestled in masks. There was no smoke and mirrors. It was a 6-man tag team match, as basic as you could be. No red lighting.
Red light?
No fucking none of this bullshit that we used to see with the Fiend. I thought they hit a home run with the presentation. I'm excited to see what they do with the Wyatt Sicks from this point on. Now that we've seen who they are and they're humanized and they're actually going to be an actual group of human beings, and they're just kind of portraying the Wyatt family lore. But as far as their presentation, I said this last night, they remind me a lot of Sanity. I don't know if you thought the same thing as well. I mean, it's like not really, but it's like I got glimpses, little doses of Sanity last night with Dexter Lumis and the ring gear, Joe Gacy in the ring gear. Not that it's a bad thing, because the early stages of Sanity was to me, I thought it was very good. But as far as the presentation, I thought they nailed it, honestly.
Yeah, the presentation was really good. I mean, with the Wyatt Sicks, a lot of it is presentation. So I thought they nailed it. I love the fact that they used the one piano key for weeks, and then ultimately they went with the full Shatter theme from Code Orange. So I was happy, because Bray didn't get to use that theme for very long. I mean, he used it for a few months. It's a good song, so I like that. Seeing Bo as Uncle Howdy in the rocking chair, just like Bray used to be, in the aisleway watching the match. And then everybody in the match got a chance to shine. Gacy looked as good as I've ever seen him since he signed with WWE.
He slimmed down a lot.
He slimmed down. Yeah, He slimmed down from the last time I saw him. Dexter, he changed up his look. He's got the dreadlocks, so that makes him look unique. And then Eric Rowan, I joked about it. I said, we went from chants on Saturday of "We want Roman" to "We want Rowan." It's like amazing. Like turnaround of 48 hours. Like who would have expected that? But they all got a chance to shine. They needed that win. I mean, Gable keeps taking losses, but it wasn't really about them here. It was about establishing the Wyatts, so I'm not surprised they got the win. The crowd seemed to be happy with that. So I thought they did a really good job with it last night, and now we wait and see when they do Gable and Howdy. And it's probably going to be another loss for Chad Gable, because do you see Chad Gable beating Uncle Howdy? Because I don't.
No.
Yeah.
I don't. I guess a bad blood match is on the horizon there. I would assume.
No, I see that as a TV match. I don't even think they're going to wait that long. I mean, they could do maybe a follow-up match with a stip, maybe a bad blood, but you need to do that match quicker. Okay, there are some matches that I think should be saved for like a major show. We've talked about some of them tonight, but like Uncle Howdy's in-ring debut against Chad Gable, you can headline a Monday Night Raw with that.
You could. Yeah, they have a good thing going right now where they have a lot of matches that could take place on pay-per-view, but I know a lot of them are not going to take place on pay-per-view, and the fact that we got a 3-hour show on Monday and then a 2-hour show on Friday, WWE would be best to save some of those for the TV show. But as far as Berlin is concerned, a lot of what we saw on Monday night, actually, what we forgot to talk about? I got to talk about this. I can't forget this because this was also one of my favorite parts of the entire night. Odyssey Jones. He showed up last night. Finally, 18 months this guy was off of television, and he's finally back on television in the role that he was made for with the New Day. He's a charismatic guy. He is just uppity, and he's got a lot of charisma. He's just a lot of energy, and he fits the New Day so perfectly. I don't know why anybody didn't think of this previously, but he unofficially, I would say, is now aligned with the New Day, and we saw little glimpses of Xavier Woods potentially being upset at this decision and him maybe turning heel, which I don't really see the benefit in, but we'll discuss that along the way. I love again, Jason, the cohesiveness and the fact that they don't try to insult your intelligence. I love the explanation of Odyssey Jones being at the Performance Center, and Kofi met him while rehabbing down there because he's been out injured, and Xavier was like, well, where did this come from? And Kofi was like, oh, yeah, I met Odyssey down at the Performance Center. He was down there while I was rehabbing. I'm like, perfect. That's all you need. That's a perfect, simple explanation. But he came out, he sidewalk slammed both members of AOP, and everybody popped big in Baltimore for that. He had a great debut last night. He fits like a glove. I thought it was a perfect segment for him, man. Way too long to keep this guy off of TV in this type of role, but better late than never, I guess, huh?
He's been drafted to Raw each of the past 2 years. He was drafted last year, and he never made a single appearance. And then he was drafted again this year. And it took until now. It took until August to get him on TV. And I do think it's a good role for him to be in, but I'm just like, why the long wait? Like, did he get lost on the way to the building? Like, why did it take this long? And if they didn't have a real plan for him, why was he even drafted, to begin with last year? So that's weird to me. But I think Odyssey Jones, if he could stay healthy, I know he had a big knee injury some time ago that kept him out for a while. I don't think it was an ACL. I think it was maybe a patella tendon rupture or something like that. And it kept him on the shelf for a while. If he could stay healthy, he is, like you said, very charismatic, very outgoing guy. And the power spot last night, well, there were two of them, really, holding up each member of AOP. And these are not small men. And holding them up for a few seconds and then doing the double side slam, that was fucking impressive. And then giving Karrion Kross the boss man slam. And he got over on his first night. So he's one of these guys where it's not going to take a lot of time for people, I think, to really get behind him and be entertained by him. And you said that you don't really see the value in splitting up the New Day. I mean, I take the opposite approach. I think the New Day, that's exactly what they need. And I think it would only be temporary. And then you have the story of them reuniting. But the New Day has been together for 10 years. Okay. And they're down a member because Big E's been gone for the last couple of years. The New Day is so played out. They're very talented, but they're incredibly played out. What they need is a story like this, where somebody, like in this case, it looks like Woods will probably end up being that guy, says, you know what? And I don't know how they would do it exactly. We'll see. But him splitting away and I'm not even saying turning heel on Kofi, but just, splitting off on his own.
Kind of being
saying,
manipulated by Cross, almost. Like you know what I attribute it to, like Bryan and the Wyatt family, not have it be as long as that.
That wasn't even that long, though. I mean, Bryan and the Wyatt family was actually very short. They kind of abandoned ship on that a lot sooner than I thought they would. So this could go even a little bit longer than that. And then you build to the eventual reunion, between Kofi and Woods, and maybe they bring Big E in to try to broker a peace between them. That would make the New Day interesting to me. I don't know why. I mean, do you honestly find what the New Day has been doing over the past year to be interesting? Because I don't.
No.
So why wouldn't you be behind either a heel turn or splitting them up temporarily and letting Woods go do his thing? And then Kofi can maybe, hang with Odyssey Jones in the meantime.
It depends. Does he join Cross's group?
I don't even think he has to. I mean, he could. He could join the Final Testament, but I don't even think he has to. I just think Cross, to me, strikes me as the kind of person who, stirs shit up.
Yeah.
And so he could take great glee in the fact that, he was able to convince Woods that everything he said was true. But, Woods can go off and do his own thing and have a little run for himself. And then eventually you circle back to the New Day reunion. Because what they were doing with them before wasn't working. Nobody cared. It wasn't interesting. They haven't done anything interesting in years. Probably since Kofi Mania. So I don't know why you would be against the idea. I'm all for it. Anything to make them more interesting.
I've been asking for an Xavier Woods singles run for a while. I think he's the only member of the New Day that hasn't really been given an opportunity to go out there and venture off and do his own thing. So in that aspect, I agree. Plus, also the idea of Odyssey Jones, if he's going to be integrated to the main roster now, having him be a part of a tag team is probably the best for him. We don't know how good he is in the ring. We don't know how green he is. We don't know what he's been doing. So a team with Kofi is probably going to work out better for him. And I've always considered Kofi more of a tag team guy, especially the last few years. So that's the type of role I want to see him in. I don't want to see him in a singles role. So them together is great. Keeps the tag team division healthy with that team, and obviously with everybody else rumored to be coming in, and the changes possibly being made there. But Odyssey Jones, like you mentioned before injury, it was a ruptured patella tendon. That was back in 2022. And he's actually a native New Yorker too. I didn't know that. So he's on TV. It took a while. I think this is a great role for him. And now that you mentioned it, I could see the change in scenery for the New Day working out pretty well. Honestly, I think Xavier's going to kill it. I think he deserves a shot. Singles.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to kill it or not. I mean, but it doesn't really matter whether he does or not. I mean, it works as a story, and then you can always put them back together. It does not have to be a situation where he he does to Kofi what Bronson Reed did to Seth Rollins, and leaves him bloody in the middle of the ring. He could just feel like, you know what? I do feel like I'm marginalized here. I do feel like I'm playing second fiddle. It sounded last night based on his reaction like he wasn't even given a heads up on Odyssey Jones coming in. And so, eventually it wears on him and he says, you know what? I'm going to go. You don't think I could do it, right? You don't think I could go out and have success on my own? And Kofi can be like, no, that's not at all. But he's convinced himself that that's the case. And then he could go and he could wrestle a Bron Breaker for the IC title and lose. And all the things he tries to do, he's not able to accomplish. But then eventually, and you bring it back around, and the New Day reunites. So I don't have an issue with that. This New Day Final Testament stuff up until now has just been, I'm sorry, it's just
boring.
I can't get into it. Yeah, I just can't get into it. And Crosses are actually not a bad promo.
No,
Cross
he's very to me, he's very good. I like him.
He is, but just, again, the story itself, I just have not been able to get into it. I really have been hoping that they veer off in a different direction here, and this could be exactly what New Day needs.
We mentioned cool. They are not cool. The Final Testament's not cool. That's what they're missing. They're missing that cool factor.
Well, they got Scarlett. Scarlett's pretty cool.
Yeah, I guess. Cool.
Yeah,
Everybody loves
guess?
Scarlett. I guess, yeah.
Oh my God. You're the first person I've met who mentioned Scarlett. Yeah, I guess.
I guess.
She's all right. Yeah. Okay. To each their own, I guess.
She's a lovely lady. We know that for sure. Bash in Berlin. Listen, I think coming out of Monday Night Raw last night, we kind of have a great idea of where they're going with Bash in Berlin. We got Randy Orton versus Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. We alluded to possibly a mixed tag team match with Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest versus Dominic and Liv Morgan. We have possibly, I know Dragunov gave Sami Zayn a nice little pep talk last night, and then he kind of disappeared rather quickly. I can see Dragunov and Bron Breaker for the Intercontinental Championship. I don't know what you think about that. And then on the SmackDown side, we haven't really discussed what Cody Rhodes is going to be doing at Bash in Berlin.
Before we get into the SmackDown side, I fully expect that Ludwig Kaiser will have a match on that show. And
against Sheamus?
Well, I think they may work him into the Sheamus and Pete Dunne stuff. Maybe we get a triple threat out of it.
I forgot about him. Yeah, he needs to be on that show.
Yeah, and when he was hurt, he did some interview and he was asked about Berlin. He said, I'm going to be back in time for Berlin. Yeah. Don't worry. Because he's actually from Germany. And I got to bring this up because he's German born. And so I'm sure Triple H is going to find a spot for him on the show. That's the one that would make the most sense. Last night, it annoyed me that in the opening segment,
I knew you were going to say this.
As much as I liked the segment, it annoyed the crap out of me that, they had Randy Orton come out and they said they called Gunther German and they said that you're going to be wrestling in your home country. And
that title looks good on your German shoulders.
Yeah, your German shoulders. So, did he have an arm transplant from somebody who was born in Germany? Because he wasn't. He's from Austria. Okay, that's a different play. That's like something you'd see in the Vince McMahon era. They used to go to these cities for Raw, and if it wasn't a big enough city, they would find the nearest big city. So it didn't matter where you were. They would if you were in the suburbs or something of Illinois, it'd be like, we're in Chicago tonight, pal. It's like, come on. They're talking about him like he's German. It's fucking Austrian. Just bugged me.
Yeah, I did. I didn't say nothing about it last night. But is Gunther going to say anything to Randy Orton? What is he going to do? You're going to stand there and smile and nod your head. But we got actually Bronson Reed versus Seth Rollins too. That should take place at Berlin. Dragunov, Breaker, and the mixed tag team match, and then Gunther and Randy Orton. Kaiser, I could see against Sheamus and Dunne. I'd like to see that. Maybe he gets added to the Dragunov and Breaker match. Is that a possibility?
Possible, but I think less likely. Okay. I actually think you add him to Sheamus and Dunne. Here's what you do. You add him to Sheamus and Dunne. Sheamus and Dunne kind of cancel each other out, and Kaiser gets a win.
I like it.
Gets a big win in his country. Gets a big win, period, right? Because he hasn't had a big win in a while. And then Sheamus and Dunne, they're going to go off to do their own thing anyway. They probably have a big match on TV after that. But it gives Kaiser a match on the show, and it gives him a win in his home country. And why not? He's very good.
He's very good. And then on SmackDown, I don't know what Cody Rhodes does, but I do not see him defending the WWE Championship at Bash in Berlin. I propose the idea of him teaming with Roman Reigns against Solo and Jacob Fatu.
I could definitely see that.
Yeah.
I could definitely see that because there is no obvious challenger for him. That's the problem. I mean, the only name, I was going over the roster and trying to figure out, okay, who on the SmackDown roster would make sense? There's Kevin Owens. I mean, even though he's another babyface, how do you get there? Maybe somebody from Raw, because, you know, Randy Orton went from SmackDown to Raw to challenge for that title. Does somebody from Raw come over to challenge Cody for the WWE title? That doesn't really make sense because Orton has a reason for going over to Raw to challenge for the world title. What would be the reason that Adam Pearce would, you know, send somebody over to SmackDown to wrestle Cody, and who would that even be? So I just have a difficult time figuring out, you know, in the absence of Randy Orton in that spot, who would you even put in there against Cody? I certainly don't need a rematch with Solo Sikoa.
No.
So it gets Roman on the show. That's like a big super babyface team, right, with him and Cody. Against Solo and Jacob, even though Jacob is tag champion with Tama. But Solo and Jacob would be the way to go. So I like it.
Tag team titles are up in the air. We don't know what's going to happen with the Raw tag team titles. The SmackDown tag team titles are on Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu. LA Knight, we don't know if he's going to be defending the U.S. title. AJ Styles is on the show Friday. We don't know what he's going to be up to. So very Raw heavy right now. We'll figure out SmackDown when we get to Friday. But it's shaping up to be a great show and lots of story. So
yeah. Yeah, there's a lot going on, and that's what I like to see, especially on a 3-hour show like Raw. When you have a lot going on and it's just very cohesive and things are making sense and there's a lot, like you said, a lot of story going on, playing out, it makes the 3 hours go by so much easier. You know, last night was one of those shows where it didn't feel 3 hours.
no.
You know, the time or the length of the show was of no real concern to me, which is not typical for a Raw, because even when there's like a good Raw, it still feels like a 3-hour show. But last night, you know, maybe they can't all be like that, but it had that Raw after WrestleMania vibe.
Let's keep with the WWE theme before we shift gears over to AEW. There's a couple of WWE notes here. Number one, quickly, let's get this out of the way. WWE is heading to Vancouver for Survivor Series War Games 2024. Glad that they announced War Games, one of my favorite times of the year. War Games will be emanating from the Rogers Arena in Vancouver, British Columbia. TKO Group Holdings made a formal announcement about this in partnership with Destination Vancouver. They announced this week that Survivor Series will be taking place on Saturday, November 30th at the Rogers Arena in Vancouver, making it the first ever Survivor Series to emanate from the city. The last time, Jason, that WWE was in Vancouver was December 13th, 1998 at the General Motors Place, which is now the Rogers Arena, for Rock Bottom in Your House. That's a long fucking time.
Owen Hart, I believe, had a match on that show. That was not the last time they were there, though. That was the last pay-per-view that they were there for. They were actually, I think they were at the Rogers Center, right? Rogers Center?
Yeah.
This year for the New Year's Revolution episode of SmackDown at the beginning of the year, and
That's right.
I think they sold it out. So it's a smart move. Those Canadian crowds are great. They're always up for these shows. And again, like I said, they sold out at the beginning of the year. The product arguably now is certainly just as hot as it was at the very beginning of the year, if not more so. And so they'll pack that place in very easily. I think it's a smart move.
The Rogers Arena holds roughly 20,000 people, and given the production and the fact that WWE tends to go with a smaller setup for the War Games cage to fit, we may be looking at, 16, 17,000 for Survivor Series. So, could be an exciting show. I think it will be an exciting show. We got the Civil War underway with the Bloodline. Now, my question to you, Jason, is, WWE does things very strategically, man. They are a company that plays chess and not checkers. WWE typically holds these events in these major markets. We got Sami Zayn wrestling in Montreal with Roman Reigns last year at the Elimination Chamber for the WWE Universal title. We got Scotland and Drew McIntyre, Clash of the Castle. We got Berlin, Gunther's walking in, the world champion. And we got Australia, Perth, Australia. Rhea Ripley was in the main event. Is there a specific reason, in your opinion, why WWE chose Vancouver for Survivor Series? Could we see another game of chess here by Nick Khan? Because I threw it out there, and it was very kind of open that Trish Stratus's name has been thrown around a lot. Could we potentially see a Trish Stratus return against Tiffany Stratton for a show like this at Survivor Series? Because I know they had a little interaction at Money in the Bank, and they may be setting up for something like that. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a possibility. I mean, Trish just made a comment the other day. I don't know where it was, but she basically said that she's not retired, and if the right opportunity came along, she would love to come back. She's Toronto. This is Vancouver, so I don't know that there's really a direct tie-in. You could say that about Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn going to join the OG bloodline and be in War Games, and he's from Canada, so I don't know that it's tied into any one person. I wouldn't go that far. I don't think we've seen the last of Trish, though, in the ring. I think I'm going to say we don't get her back this year, but we see her in the Royal Rumble in January.
I could see it.
Is it January or is it? No, I think it's February. February 1st.
It is, yes. February, the first ever Royal Rumble that will be taking place in February.
Yeah, it threw me off. It doesn't feel right.
Yeah,
it's
between the, it's 1 week before the Super Bowl. So that's what they're doing.
Well, you definitely want to avoid that.
Yeah. Speaking of the Royal Rumble and people that I think we will be seeing back at the Royal Rumble, Becky Lynch, she is off WWE television. She's actually a free agent. She is tied to nobody. She can do whatever she wants. Becky Lynch had a documentary air on A&E Sunday, or a biography episode on A&E, and Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select addressed some concerns from fans on Monday regarding a Becky Lynch Instagram post where Becky Lynch said, "It's been a hell of a career. Being the man for all of you was an honor. Being the mom for her daughter, is a privilege. Thanks for watching my bio on @AETV." Now, a lot of people took this as a retirement, and WWE sources say Fightful have repeatedly stated that Becky Lynch is enjoying her time off, and they wanted to be respectful of her space after what she's given them over the years. It was also reiterated that she would always be welcome back into the WWE family, and at the time her contract expired, she was planning on simply taking time off, and WWE and Becky Lynch both believed if and when the time was right, she would be back in the fold. A lot of people, they tend to make a lot out of nothing, Jason. This is the last several weeks have kind of rendered these stories of fans just blowing it up, and it's really nothing. Becky Lynch is not going to AEW, and she's certainly not retiring from pro wrestling via an Instagram post. I think people are crazy.
It's a good thing WWE doesn't have Tout anymore. Maybe she would retire via Tout.
Yeah, Tout. Yeah.
I don't understand how this became a story. I really don't. I mean, I knew that they were airing her biography that night, and I saw the comment that she made, and I tried to force myself to read it in such a way that I could have maybe possibly took it as a retirement tease, and I still couldn't do it. Like, I don't know what people saw that I didn't, but in no way did that statement indicate to me that she was retiring. She had just made a sudden decision and she was done.
What part of the Instagram post got people? Was it's been a hell of a career, or being the man for you all was an honor? Which one was it?
Probably the first one, I'm guessing. Probably that first line. It's like people who don't read the entire newspaper story. They read the first two lines, instead of reading or they read the headline and they don't read the actual story. I think that's basically what happened here, and it's just stupid. It's stupidity that this even became a story. Of course, she's not retired. She's not retiring via an Instagram post. She will be back, not until next year, but she will be back. And this is as we call, a nothing burger.
Yes. WWE is taking NXT on the road for the first 2 episodes on the CW network. This was actually announced before we went live tonight. WWE is slated to move television homes in just a few months. SmackDown's going to USA Network in September. NXT's going to CW in October. And WWE, obviously, you guys know, made a $5 billion deal with Netflix to move Raw starting in January of next year, which I can't wait for. Shawn Michaels announced today that the first 2 episodes of NXT on CW will be on the road. On October 1st, Chicago will host NXT, while the following week, NXT is set for St. Louis. WWE's already put graphics out, I believe, or I saw graphics floated around on social media. Whether they were from WWE or not, I don't know. But I saw CM Punk and Randy Orton, obviously Punk from Chicago and Randy Orton billed from St. Louis, Missouri. The October 8th episode will go head-to-head with a Title Tuesday edition of AEW Dynamite. And it looks like we're taking that week off, or at least we'll be on Thursday potentially that week. We'll discuss that at a later date,
or Wednesday.
But yeah, NXT's on the road. I think the Allstate Arena was mentioned by WWE for the Chicago show. St. Louis, I don't know what arena it would be in, but that's big, Jason. They're going to be loading up with main roster talent. They want to get NXT in front of as many eyes as possible on the new night, on the new home for CW. I mean, it's just a great business move. I don't know why anybody's going to shit on this. And listen, if this is any indication for what we got last Title Tuesday when they went head-to-head with NXT, man, they were both great shows. They were both entertaining shows, and that was one of the best Dynamites that Tony Khan put on all year. So if it forces him to do something like that again, I'm all for it.
You say that, but, overshadowed, though, by, of course, all the social media drama that played out. So hopefully,
I know,
which was entertaining. I'll don't get me
wrong.
Well,
listen, man, this is not the Undertaker and John Cena, man. We got Punk now. I wonder what Tony Khan's going to say about Mr. CM Punk showing up on WWE TV going head-to-head with AEW.
Well, Punk is on the 1st, right? So is it only the 8th that they're going head-to-head?
Yeah, October 8th. Yeah, I mean, but I could see him using any excuse he can for NXT beating them in the ratings head to head.
Whatever. But look, I can't fault WWE for this because this is a big deal. This is their launch on network television, and they want to go balls out for it. And they know they could fill a normal size arena because we've seen them do it on the road with some of these other NXT shows. So. I'm not surprised that they're doing it. I think it's smart to get out of the PC. I don't get the impression this is going to be a weekly thing.
No.
Although you could ask the question, would it make sense for them to also tape maybe the following weeks, like on the 8th, do they tape maybe a second show and air it on, via tape the following week so they could stay in the building and get 2 shows out of it? I mean, that's always a possibility, but as far as we know, it's only the first 2 shows, and then they may be back in the PC. So that's all we know right now. It's a smart move, and it's a smart move to tap into a major name from that market. In the case of St. Louis, that's Randy Orton's home. So for him to be on the show and maybe have a match in the main event against one of the NXT, main stars, Randy Orton working with like an Ethan Page or something, hey, I think that would be great. And as I said last year, when you have 2 shows and there's competition going back and forth, the real winners are the fans. Like you said, we had some great shows last year, and it was a lot of fun, and it got overshadowed by a lot of really dumb social media bullshit that was, as I recall, really, if not started by, certainly it was drummed up a lot by Tony Khan, and there was a lot of back and forth. And what was that one tweet that he put out there? I think it was he even brought up like how sad it is that they have to have the Undertaker. And I'm just like,
the Undertaker and John Cena did less than 1 million viewers on a show that they were.
So that's what it was. Yeah, and he had a comment on that, and it, of course, it just turned into a whole flame war. And the tribalists were like, their spidey senses were tingling, and and I know it's going to happen again. I mean, we're not stupid enough to think that it won't. So I'm sure the same thing will happen again this year. But at the end of the day, if we get 2 really great shows out of it, that's all I care about. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and this may be an annual tradition now. I guess we'll see. But for their CW debut, they had to go all out as much as they could. So I think it makes sense.
Well, AEW is going to go all out for their 50th year anniversary show in October. So
AEW is going to go all out literally in Chicago, right, on September 7th. So they have a show called All Out.
They will, and we won't be there for that, but we'll be in Chicago that week.
We will. We will be flying home the morning before. Yeah, we're not going to stay for the show, but we will be in Chicago in September.
Speaking of AEW and what they may be doing for their 5-year anniversary, one name in particular that's getting thrown around, Jason, is Mr. Shane O'Mac. Shane McMahon. Tony Khan had a private meeting this week with Shane McMahon, which was to be seen by everybody. It was no secret. They didn't want to hide it. Whoever took the picture, which supposedly said Mercedes said she took the picture, which I believe.
She was joking.
Was she?
She was joking. Yes. Okay. She did not take the photo. And Tony Khan, one thing I did see today, he was asked about this.
I have it here.
Okay. Because you just made the comment like, and I agree with you that there's no way this didn't get out, not on purpose. But he made it sound like, literally said like somebody barged in and took a photo.
Sure.
And then decided to share it. And, he's okay with that. But like if somebody just barged in, like, yeah, okay.
He looked very awkward as usual, like he usually does. And Shane McMahon completely seemed unbothered by it. He's like, I don't give a fuck. Just post it, whatever. Wrestle Talk got it. It was confirmed by Fightful. You guys know the picture we're talking about. That they wanted it to be seen. It was done on purpose to drum up excitement, or maybe in this case, to gauge how the fan base would react to somebody named McMahon coming on into AEW when, I think you said it, Jason, you said it best, AEW's been basically for 5 years a McMahon-free zone. And, now all of a sudden we're talking about Shane McMahon joining AEW for whatever reason. So we saw the picture. Tony Khan is said to have been very open to using Shane McMahon for several weeks, says Fightful, and has also made it clear that he was open to the idea of talking to Shane when people have brought the topic up backstage to him. Those that Fightful spoke to on Tuesday had not been briefed on a meeting. Publicly, Tony Khan commented in a recent interview saying that McMahon was welcome to stop by anytime, and he seems like a really nice guy. Tony Khan also told Sports Illustrated that he has a lot of respect for Shane McMahon as an executive and as a professional wrestler, and he's always welcomed in AEW. Tony Khan, as of today, he said this in regards to the meeting with Shane McMahon. Well, as I understand, he's not doing anything with WWE and had a really nice visit with him. I heard from a lot of people that he was interested in talking, and it had become, frankly, a big media story to the point where I was getting asked on the record questions about it, and I answered them just like I'll answer you now. In advance of I had never met him, and my first conversation with him, there was a lot of buzz about this. I thought it would certainly be worth talking, and I have a lot of respect for him. I had never met him, but he seemed like a really nice guy, so I sat down with him. He was fantastic. I really enjoyed talking with him. He's a very smart person about wrestling, and I thought he was a great guy. I was down there in Dallas, and he was in Dallas. We have a lot of mutual friends, and we both happened to be in Dallas. A mutual friend linked us up, who is one of the bigger names in pro wrestling, and that friend put us in a group chat. I had a really nice talk. I really enjoyed visiting with him. Clearly, there was a lot of interest in it. Somebody in the middle of talking at an airport conference room, somebody just busted in and took a photo. I'm sure. Nobody wanted to stop this guy at all for barging in on a private conversation.
By the way, if you saw this photo, apparently somebody busted in with their iPhone 4 based on the quality of this fucking photo.
It's amazing how that's always the case, right? It's like when you see something being filmed, it's like, why are you moving your phone away from what you're filming? Like, stay on what you're filming. I hate that shit.
No,
man.
I'll tell you what annoys me. It's these people that will shoot video like this, vertically.
Yes.
So then they post it, you got the black boxes on the sides. Like, don't you know to turn the phone this way?
Oh, there's a UFO sighting. It's like, all right, why are you what is shaking your hands? Film the fucking thing without shaking your hands. Like you're having a stroke, man. Holy shit. I hate that.
Well, I went at the last Hog Show, I shot video of Swerve's entrance.
Yes.
And I posted the video, and one of the comments was, "Man, you have the most still hands in the world." I said, I was making sure that my hands didn't move as I was filming.
It's tough. It's tough. I hate that shit though. But yeah, but somebody busted in and took this photo. I think that's fine. I enjoyed the conversation, and there's nothing wrong with a couple of people getting together and talking about wrestling. Because you can't talk about wrestling on text or fucking via DM. You gotta meet in Dallas. That's part of what makes wrestling so great. There's a lot of talk about it, and we're all fans at heart. It's a big thing. It's exciting. It was nice to talk to him. I don't know what's to come, but it's an exciting time for AEW. Then there was another report, Jason, where Shane McMahon reportedly tried to make a WWE return. The company wasn't interested. There's no reason why they would be. After his last appearance there, this was discussed on The Observer. Fightful also reported that some discussion amongst talent about the meeting. Most of the talent, they believe, Shane will at least make an appearance for AEW. And then Shane McMahon made a statement on Busted Open Radio, on Busted Open Dark with Bully Ray, Tony and I were connected through a mutual friend. We had a great meeting. We talked about many things, but mostly about our shared love for the business and rewards and challenges of working with family. I congratulated him on the 5-year anniversary of AEW and look forward to seeing how he evolves the business moving forward. So both stories align. I guess that's the narrative that they're going with. But I know you are against this. I know you potentially have a good role for Shane McMahon, which I'd love for you to share with everybody here tonight. But the reason why I feel like it's a great move for AEW to get Shane McMahon at least involved, and I'm not talking about an on-air character. I'm not talking about him wrestling. I think it would actually do great for the Elite storyline if they factor him in some way, and it potentially shifts the overall TV product to being more of what we have envisioned. I feel like the roster's bloated. I think if they split the rosters, Shane could run one show with the Elite and Tony Khan could run the other, and we have this coming of blows here between Dynamite and Collision. I think that would be a great way to separate the rosters because I feel like it's too bloated. Secondly, they're in the midst of a TV deal or negotiations for a TV deal. I said this on my end. If you're Warner Brothers Discovery and you're looking at the ratings, which they say that they're happy with, but who the fuck knows what they feel like behind closed doors. The ratings have dropped. The demos have dropped year over year. They're not doing the same numbers that they used to do in year 2, year 3. They are dropping. And if you're Warner Brothers Discovery and you're about to give AEW a new 5-year contract with X amount of money, if you're David Zaslav and you're Warner Brothers Discovery, you're looking at Tony Khan asking, well, what are you going to do differently in the next 5 years that you haven't done in the first 5 years? Because right now it looks like you're in a downward spiral and you're not going up, and we want you to go up. I feel like with Shane McMahon, Tony Khan is on his last fucking life here. And I feel like with Shane McMahon, it brings a sense of, hey, look, I got a McMahon. That's the confidence you guys need. I feel like he's using Shane as like a crutch to potentially sell to Warner Brothers Discovery that things will be all right in AEW because we got a great man in Shane McMahon. He knows the business inside out. The esteemed McMahon family is now working with AEW. I feel like it's something that he's using
esteemed? The esteemed McMahon family?
You know what I mean. You know I don't mean
what?
that. But I'm just using nice words here to kind of sell the point that I'm saying.
Too nice.
Shane McMahon, listen, who knows what Shane McMahon thought of or knows of his father? Nobody knows. But Shane is the one McMahon that I felt like a lot of people, the fan base, wanted to see there more than anybody. I think they have a respect for Shane and Stephanie. I feel like it's mostly a crutch for Tony Khan to sell to Warner Brothers Discovery because I think he's running out of ideas, Jason. And I feel like if AEW continues over the next 5 years the way that they are right now, there may not be an AEW at the end of this next 5 years. That's what I truly believe.
Okay, so where to begin here? When this story first popped up in June, I was not at all receptive to the idea. I didn't think it was necessary. I didn't really see where it brought any real great value to AEW or the AEW brand beyond the initial bounce. But I didn't necessarily think there was any teeth to it. I didn't think it was actually going to happen. And it may not happen. But then the meeting took place. So now we know they've had a conversation. And there's nothing wrong with meeting. There's nothing wrong with having a conversation. Apparently they talked about a lot of different things and their similar backgrounds as far as their love of pro wrestling and I think he said the challenges of working with family. And in Shane's case, I'm sure that's very true. People, I think, are getting very excited in some cases. There are other people who think this is a terrible idea. Some people are allowing themselves to get very excited because they think that this could be some great, or it could lead to some great television, or that it could somehow change AEW's fortunes, which is basically what you're saying here. That potentially it could have this great effect that moves AEW back in the right direction, and maybe it restores some of that past glory they've had, and the numbers go up, and all these positive things happen because, hey, it's Shane McMahon, right? And he's a McMahon, and he's got name recognition. All the people who are saying that Shane would be good in a behind-the-scenes role creatively, because I see a lot of that as well. Nobody has been able to articulate to me where they are getting this from. That's one of the issues I have with this. I hear that word creative thrown around. He could be a benefit to Tony Khan, maybe creatively, behind the scenes. Shane's got great ideas. Nobody has been able to articulate to me or point to me to any real examples of Shane McMahon's creative prowess. So I need people to stop talking about that until they can actually show me examples, because I have no idea what they're talking about. Okay,
well,
don't know.
I mean, the only ideas that I know of are two. I don't know if there's more than that. And we know the Royal Rumble fiasco, which I don't know how much of that was true in 2022. But Raw Underground, and didn't he want to move ECW to WWE.com? Those are the only two things I know.
That's not a creative idea. That's more of a business idea, and I addressed that as well. That's a separate thing. There has been talk over the years that Shane has had some business ideas that were interesting. One of which, I mean, I know he wanted to buy, or he wanted his father to buy UFC like 20 years ago, and Vince said no. It's like a kid in the store wants to buy a toy, and the father says no. Imagine how different the world of MMA would look if Vince McMahon had bought UFC back in 2000 or whatever it was. So he, I guess, is a big fight fan, and that, you know, maybe he wanted to run it. That didn't happen. The ECW idea is something Paul Heyman has talked about, which is that back in 2006, which is when they relaunched the ECW brand after that second one-night stand, he claimed that it was Shane's idea that bring back ECW as a brand, but don't put it on TV, run it as an online-only entity. The world was a very different place in 2006, online only back then. I mean, you didn't have a lot of that type of thing going on. Would that have worked? I don't know, but it would have allowed them maybe to run ECW as more of a kind of an underground type product, right? More in line maybe with what the original ECW was. And obviously that didn't happen. That's an interesting concept. We'll never know if it would have worked. That's different though than saying that Shane could create all of these wonderful ideas from a creative end. I just haven't seen any evidence of that. And I think people are just allowing themselves to just kind of go off the reservation with these comments that they're making. It's like Michael Cole saying Logan Paul had an incredible run as champion. I'm sorry, I can't let that go. But as far as Shane is concerned, we don't know. He's an unknown commodity in that role. Because when he came back to WWE in 2016, he was purely a talent. He was not brought back as an executive. He was not brought back as an agent. He was never, to our knowledge, he was never on the writing team. I certainly never heard of any great ideas that were ascribed to him. So you can't tell me that Tony Khan throwing a bunch of money to bring in Shane McMahon to, let's say, help him out creatively is going to turn things around in AEW. Maybe he could help. Maybe he'll be just as bad. Maybe he'll be worse, right? We don't know. Now, you say you're not talking about him as an on-air talent, but you know that if he comes in, he's going to be on the air, right? He could do other things.
In a wrestling, I don't want to see him in a wrestling role, but if I see him in like a GM role or an authority figure role, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, but if they bring him in even for something like that, he's likely going to end up wrestling at some point. And if it's one match, whatever. But I agree with you. I have no interest in seeing him brought in to do physical stuff on a regular basis or have matches. We have not seen Shane McMahon in the ring doing anything of real note in many, many years, okay? I don't need to see him out there sweating profusely, just cutting a promo. Shane being brought in for the Elite angle, that may have been something at the beginning of this angle. This angle was just botched from almost day one. I don't know that there's really any saving this angle. It's still their big angle right now, but it's obviously not generating any interest or any television ratings or any money for them. I don't see what bringing Shane in is going to do to correct that story. What is even the story?
There is no story.
Right. If you have the EVPs are going to trump the president and CEO of the company and bring in Shane McMahon, it's not a publicly traded company. What are they going to do? Sell their stock to Shane McMahon? Like, I'm trying to make sense of this from a storyline perspective. But again, it was botched the moment that Tony Khan came back when he did, and he's just sitting in Gorilla every week.
Yeah.
It still hasn't been explained to me how the EVPs are able to suspend people and why Tony Khan doesn't just unsuspend them, right? Britt Baker was suspended, as it turned out she really was, but she was suspended from Dynamite last week, and Mercedes was all happy. Well, why couldn't Tony Khan step in and unsuspend her or tell the EVPs, no, you can't do that, right? This power balance between them has never really been explained, and it's hard to take any of that stuff seriously. Shane being brought in is generating a lot of interest from people who I think are very excited about the idea of a McMahon showing up on AEW TV. You will get that initial curiosity bump. 3 weeks later, you're going to be in the same exact spot that you were in with all the other WWE names that were brought in that people made a big deal about. And in the end, it didn't really make much of a difference. Shane is going to be no different in that respect. I don't think it's anything that Tony Khan needs to bring in Shane to help solve his problems. I can't think of one problem that he has or that you think he has that bringing in Shane McMahon is going to fix. I don't. I know he's well liked, but I don't see how that's going to fix any of their problems. So I just find that to be complete nonsense. If you wanted to bring in Shane McMahon and see if there could be value in it, my idea is very simple. At the Death Before Dishonor post-show scrum last week, he was asked again, Tony was, about this Warner Brothers Discovery, media rights, what's the update on that? And he made a comment that I had not heard him mention before, which is that Ring of Honor has come up in the discussions with WBD, and it wouldn't be so far-fetched to see a Ring of Honor show on a Warner Brothers Discovery network. Doesn't mean TNT or TBS. Could be some other channel. If there's a real possibility that Ring of Honor is going to have a television presence as part of this new deal that I'm sure they're going to make, and there's going to be a lot of people who are going to have egg on their face when Tony Khan gets his deal and gets more money, and we could hear about that any week. Apparently, he just came back from Paris, had very good meetings with David Zaslav, so I expect there to be an announcement probably in the next few weeks. If Ring of Honor is going to get a show on TV, you want to bring in Shane McMahon? You want to let Shane prove himself and see what value he can bring? Let Shane McMahon run Ring of Honor. And I don't just mean like on the air as an authority figure. Let him run Ring of Honor. Let him be the driving force, the creative force. Give him a little writing staff, right? He'll have his own roster. Let him run Ring of Honor and basically be the head of ROH, which would kind of remove some of that responsibility from Tony's end and see what he can do. If he thinks that Shane being a part of that is going to drive interest in the show, because he's going to want, to try to pop a big number for Ring of Honor, he's going to throw everything into it. He's probably going to throw some big names on there. Let Shane run it. See what he can do with it. And if he does well with that, and he can generate real interest in the Ring of Honor product and really turn it into something as a TV property, you can always have Shane contribute on the AEW end. I look at it like a proof of concept type of thing. That's where I think he could potentially bring value for Tony if ROH ends up getting TV. Because ROH getting TV would be a big deal. And I'm not convinced that they will. But if they did, let Shane take it and let's see what he can do with it.
I think that's a great idea. How does that immediately address the problems that we have with the AEW product?
It doesn't. That's what I'm telling you. Shane McMahon does not address those issues regardless. Those issues have to be addressed independent of Shane McMahon. I'm just saying if he wants to bring in Shane, that's the wrong reason to bring him in because I don't see where he fixes that. Maybe he could be of value over there, but he's not going to be of value over here for the problems that currently exist.
Do you get a sense that Tony is genuinely concerned about the trajectory of AEW? Do you feel like he is running out of ideas? Because I honestly feel, as a fan, I don't know if you feel the same way, I feel like the soul, the essence of AEW is still somewhat lit in an MJF, in a Will Ospreay, in Kenny Omega, Hangman Page. Swerve has done great the last few months. There are aspects of the old AEW that are still there, but I feel like the flame that was the old AEW is slowly dying out, and over the years, it's faded quite significantly. I feel like if they continue to present the product the way that they have been, I think that they will continue to lose viewers. I don't know what that means for the future of AEW. I don't want to see them go and adopt completely a WWE lifestyle where it's all sports entertainment like Vince used to do. But I feel like a mixture of pro wrestling, stories, sports entertainment, I think that would benefit AEW greatly. I don't want to sit here and say, let's take everything that WWE is doing and apply it to AEW. I feel like if they take some of what they're doing, apply it to their current product, and make it their own, I think we would be a lot better off for it. And you can actually see that You know, Tony Khan over the last few months to a year has changed the inner workings of AEW significantly. Kosha Irby, he was WWE's regional director of live events. He is now working for AEW and is the chief operating officer of AEW. Jennifer Pepperman is an executive producer. She's also the personal writer for Mercedes Moné. And she's also working with the writing team on both Dynamite and Collision. Adam Hopkins, he was with WWE Public Relations. He's now head of public relations for AEW. Mike Mansory, he was the next in the line for Kevin Dunn's job. He's working... Mansory, yeah. Senior vice president, co-executive producer. He is basically Kevin Dunn for AEW. So you see where he's getting a lot of his inner workings from. They're ex-WWE employees. I don't want to sit here and say Shane is going to be the answer to all of AEW's prayers. They're not. He's not. And there will still be problems. But I feel like with his vision, with some of his ideas, with what he knows, with who he's worked under and seen, I feel like all that he brings with him, the wealth and knowledge that he brings with him, because Tony Khan is fucking clueless on most weeks. He barely gets by on most weeks. I feel like with somebody like that there, and then you got Bryan Danielson, who he trusts immensely. I just feel like you tie all these pieces together, Jason. I feel like Tony Khan has a nice nucleus for himself, and I feel like a lot of what he is stressed about and a lot of what's on his plate could be divvied up, and Shane could be a nice centerpiece for that, where he could have Tony's ear and maybe AEW rights the fucking ship, and maybe a lot of the wrongs get righted. That's what I truly believe, because of what Shane brings with him from where he worked and who he is related to and what he's seen over the years. I mean, a lot of what he's seen, you can't put a price on that. A lot of what he knows, you can't put a price on that. That's the type of mentality I have about Shane and AEW.
Yeah, I mean, look, he was in WWE for many years. Again, he was not in an executive position his second time around. I guess he would have been the first time around. I want to say he was maybe heading the digital division, and I know, the people who worked underneath him liked him, but that was many years ago. I mean, we're going back now to like the later part of the, between 2000 and 2010. Look, I just don't, I don't see where Shane McMahon being brought in for whatever knowledge he may have of the inner workings of WWE and the people he may know and the things he may have learned there. I don't think that is the answer as far as turning around the ship if you believe that AEW is headed in the wrong direction. I think they already have some of the pieces in place. Maybe they're just not utilizing them the right way. I don't know. You mentioned Jennifer Pepperman. I don't know that she's not like the personal writer for Mercedes. She works with Mercedes. Apparently she works with other talent as well. You mentioned Mike Mansory. He was basically underneath Kevin Dunn in WWE, and now he's their head production guy. Very good at what he does. I don't have an issue with AEW production. I think they've made improvements on that front, since they brought him in, although they still seem to have those pesky audio issues that I don't understand if 5 years later they still get plagued by that. But Shane McMahon being brought in, I think you would be best suited to kind of give him a run on that other brand, which Tony Khan does not want to shut down. He has an affinity for Ring of Honor. He thinks that it can be a success and can make him money. And I just feel like that would be a good kind of starting ground for Shane to see how he does before he were to graduate, if you will, into the kind of AEW system, the AEW ecosystem. I just think a lot of the excitement we're seeing is misplaced. That's what I think. And I think people need to kind of calm down. Him as a television character, or him having any sort of major significant behind the scenes role, and Dynamite ratings will turn around and we'll have all these great stories and stuff. You mentioned the word story. Story is still, I think, key here. Because the thing that I'm most excited about when I watch these WWE shows week to week, things that keep me interested and that we have these long dialogues and discussion about, what is it mostly about? It's not about necessarily the matches. It's about these stories that have played themselves out. They just don't have as many of those as they need. You can pick out certain ones like Tony Storm and Mariah May and things like that, it's not that they have no stories. They just don't have enough compelling stories, I think, that keep those people from tuning out. And I saw people earlier today making hay about the fact that, I don't know if you saw the Collision rating from Saturday.
I did.
Okay. You could throw that number away. I don't know why people were making a big deal about that. It was a terrible number. It was 189,000, I believe.
Show aired at 5 o'clock, and SummerSlam was the same night. I mean, who pays attention to that?
It was out of its normal time slot, and like you said, it was SummerSlam day. Nobody was going to be paying attention to them anyway. But they're doing the residency right now at the Esports Stadium. They're doing these shows there, and again, you could take that number and throw it away. That's not indicative of anything. But yes, Dynamite and Collision numbers are down from where they had been previously. And I just think Tony needs to get his shit together as far as coming up with more cohesive, interesting stories and, threading things together on the shows. And I think if he can do that, that would be a big part of it. And also, I think getting certain people, more consistent television time is also very important. Shane, though, again, I just can't bring myself to get excited about him being brought in. I just don't see there being such value that it's going to make a huge difference in their product. And to me, it's just him bringing in another person from WWE who, I'm sorry, I don't see where the real value is coming from. You talk about how he comes from there, he knows the system, and he sees how things work. Yeah, but how does that translate to him helping AEW? What is he going to do? Tell Tony Khan, well, here's how we did it here. We should be doing it.
That would mean Tony has to give up power, and we know Tony's not going to give up power.
Well, there's that too. There's ego. There's always going to be ego involved in these things. As friendly as they may be, and he may have enjoyed his meeting with Shane, you can't discount that as well, that there's always going to be ego involved. Maybe that's why he doesn't want to let go of Ring of Honor. He wants to control that, and he wants to run AEW, and he takes all of these responsibilities kind of under his own wing there. I just can't get excited about the prospect of him being in AEW. I just think it's ridiculous, and that's just how I feel.
I got two questions before we move on to the next story. I'm genuinely curious to see how you feel. Take yourself out of the current position that you're in. Say you don't have a podcast. Say the Sound Off doesn't exist, and you're just strictly a wrestling fan.
Yeah, what a dark world it would be.
I know. You're strictly a wrestling fan, and you're AEW, right? And you're waving the flag of AEW. If you are an AEW elitist, a super fan,
I'm a
sicko. And you've been there from year one, and you see the reason why the company exists. They're the alternative to what Vince was doing then, and an alternative to the WWE. And now you get to year 5, and you see WWE basically, making AEW less and less of an alternative. And then you see Tony Khan meeting with Shane McMahon. Are you worried as a fan that Tony may be bringing in someone who he's chastised? He's chastised the McMahon family and basically referenced Harvey Weinstein while making mention of what he feels, about the McMahons. Are you worried as a fan with him bringing in Shane McMahon? Do you feel like the AEW that you once fell in love with in year 1 is not there anymore? How are you feeling?
I don't, let me just say this. I don't hold against Shane what his father did. I don't know what he knew or didn't know about what his father was allegedly involved in or whatever, but I said this on my show, I'm not going to hold the son responsible for the sins of the father. So that's just how I feel about that. I'm not, my opinion of him here has nothing to do with that. Tony Khan made the comment. He made the Harvey Weinstein comment. Has nothing to do with Shane, as far as I'm concerned. How I would feel if I was not doing my show or not podcasting, I would feel the exact same way. I would look at it and go, oh boy, like this is what they need. You know what it reminds me of in many ways? Dixie Carter and TNA. That's kind of the vibe I get when I hear about this sort of thing. I just wouldn't look at it as a real positive for the company. I would just kind of roll my eyes. I feel like even if I wasn't here talking to you and analyzing this and discussing this, I can't sit here and say that it would make me any more excited to see Shane McMahon walk out. It would be a surreal moment on that first Dynamite that he does walk out. And then after that, I feel like it would just sort of wash away. And it's like, all right, well, he brought in Shane McMahon. He's probably paying him a fortune. And AEW is going to go on exactly the way it is now. Maybe for the worse, but I don't really see it being any better because of that. So I really don't think my opinion would change all that much, other than like, holy shit, I never expected to see him on the show. And then after that, it's like, all right, the moment has passed. You know, it's a moment. It's a moment. People live for these moments. And the way I describe it is, it's like a hit of adrenaline. Him walking out there, whatever music they give him, and he's doing the Shane Shuffle, and everyone's going crazy, he'll get a great reaction. Yeah. He'll get holy shit chants, right? Of course. But adrenaline wears off. And when it does, what are you left with? That's the question.
A lot of people, you know, we see it every day on social media. A lot of people want AEW to die. We see it. I don't know where these people come from. They're crazy.
Those people are idiots. Those people are dragging their knuckles on the ground.
Those people are ridiculous. A lot of people want AEW to go away. We all know that AEW being in the position that they are right now is the best thing for everybody. It's the best thing for the pro wrestlers. It's the best thing for them and their families. It's the best thing for the business. It's the best thing for us content creators. We have more content to make for you guys. A lot of people wanted an alternative in AEW. They got it. And I've said it for the last several years. It is tough to be the alternative when you are now battling someone who is the alternative in Triple H. Do you honestly feel, again, as someone who sits in your position, do you honestly feel like fans really wanted an alternative, or did they just want a better WWE, and when they got it, they abandoned the ship from the AEW that they thought was the alternative? Did they just want a better WWE, and that's why AEW's ratings are where they are?
They wanted an alternative. Like what you just described is an alternative to the WWE product
but now WWE is hot, and they are the alternative, and it's the alternative from Vince. Or did they just want a better WWE, or do they want AEW to die now? Like, I don't really understand where people's mindset is at. So I'm asking you, did they want a better WWE, or did they truly want an alternative?
First of all, these people that want AEW to die are just fucking idiots. And so I don't even know how big that group of people is. I think it's a relatively small number of people, honestly, who feel that way. And I don't really take their opinion seriously, because I don't know why you would want to see a wrestling company die and people be out of work and have one less show and one less option to watch each week. Even if you don't like the show, even if you think the show has fallen off, the idea that, you know, you would want to see it die or be canceled or anything like that is ridiculous. And that doesn't make you a fan. That makes you a moron, as far as I'm concerned. So put that on the side. I think it's a mixture of both. I think that you had people who were very dissatisfied with the WWE, or disenfranchised, disenchanted with the WWE product, who tuned out, who weren't watching anymore. Because you know what? It sucked, right? A lot of bad television. Chased away a lot of viewers in those years. Probably if I wasn't doing my show, I would have been one of them.
Likewise.
Those people, though, they're wrestling fans. They like wrestling. And so another product came along that happened to be different and was positioning themselves as the alternative. And so they gave it a shot. Like that first show they did, I think, or maybe the first couple of shows on TNT, 1.4 million, right? 1.3 million people were willing to give it a chance and check it out. And then the numbers, you know, settled in where the numbers settled in. And it was a pretty solid audience that they had there. And then they brought in Punk, and they had some big audiences. But honestly, even Punk, people romanticize it. Like the numbers were not radically up.
No, Rampage did what, 1.3, and then they went right back to what, 500,000?
People sometimes make it sound like before Punk, they never hit 1 million viewers, you know, which is ridiculous. They were actually hitting it, you know, I won't say all the time, but they had plenty of shows that at least touched 1 million or exceeded 1 million. But I think it's a mixture of both. I do think you have people who just were WWE fans who stopped watching because they didn't like the product, and they were willing to sample this other product. I also think that you cannot excuse Tony Khan and the mistakes that he's made, or his booking, you know, whatever you think the issues are with AEW. You can't just lay it at the feet of, well, the reason that AEW is lagging behind what they used to be doing is because WWE, that dastardly WWE, they got hot, you know, and because business is hot for them, that's the only reason why our business is down. It hurts them. I do think that it took away the one thing they used to be able to cite, which is that we're not them. So if you don't like what you're getting over there, come on over here. We got something else for you that we think you might enjoy. Right? We don't restrict people as much on promos. We don't insult your intelligence. We don't have terrible, awful comedy segments every other segment on TV every week. We'll give you longer banger matches, right? All the things that maybe you weren't getting before. Come on over, dip your toe in the water. You know, the water is warm. We'd love to have you. And when Vince went away, when the Boogeyman went away and Triple H took over, and you're a big fan of the black and gold NXT, he ran it like a super indie. And it worked. And so now Triple H is in charge of WWE, and you get a little more of that. You see some of that black and gold influence. So you can get plenty of banger matches on TV if you watch WWE, but now you're getting television that isn't totally insulting you. You're getting stories that are actually fun or compelling to follow and characters that you can invest in. And it's a breath of fresh air that wasn't there before. So I think that you had some fans who went back to WWE, and maybe they don't watch AEW anymore. But you can't lay it all on that. That's a big part of it. I do believe that. Vince going away was actually a big negative for Tony Khan.
Yeah.
It took that one thing, that badge of honor that they used to be able to wear, and now it's just not the same. They can't really, lean on that anymore. But it doesn't excuse the mistakes he's made. And when you look at certain talents, we can go through a list, but like Wardlow or people like that, I mean, you can point to a lot of mistakes and missteps that Tony has made. He did that. Those are mistakes that he made, whether it was inexperience, whatever it was. But you can't just lay it all on that one reason. I think it's a combination of a few different things.
It's going to be interesting to see. We will keep you guys updated on the Shane McMahon talk. Nothing is official. They just spoke, and if anything more comes of it, we will obviously revisit this. But again, the man who was the alternative, Jason's correct. I've been saying it for years. You can't battle the alternative when the alternative was right underneath Vince McMahon, ready and waiting to just take that company where he wanted. And now Tony Khan's rattled, and there's nothing that's really making AEW stand out, because everything you're getting from AEW, or we're getting from AEW, you're not getting on WWE television. It's tough. He's in a tough spot. So we will keep a close eye on it. But the backstage antics of some are not really helping the cause. And MJF and Britt Baker had a story that was being talked about more than anything on TV this week, and that's not a good thing.
We got a reality show. They should put this on TV.
They should.
You want to get your ratings up? Put this on TV.
Well, MJF is their biggest ratings draw, so I'm sure that would be just as good for them. Dave Meltzer first reported that Baker was suspended for 1 or 2 weeks and fined by the company. No amount was given as far as the fine, but she was fined by the company's disciplinary committee for her actions on the July 17th Dynamite, which was episode 250. Baker allegedly said something about MJF and Alicia Atout, who was MJF's girlfriend. She was in the women's locker room when things broke down, and MJF confronted Baker about this. AEW investigated the matter, and Fightful reported that those internally noted Baker exercised frustration about MJF within the women's locker room with Alicia Atout and told MJF. She went to go tell MJF. I mean, I'll stop there for now. I mean, if you're a significant other and you're hearing your partner being spoken about ill will and negatively, what are you supposed to do? Not go tell him? It's a little she's backed into a corner. So she did what she felt was right. They were told that there were confrontations between Atout and Baker in addition to MJF and Baker. Will Ospreay actually at one point spoke to Baker as well, as Baker took issue with MJF's girlfriend telling MJF what was said in the women's locker room. Then we get a report that Wrestle Purist put out. Ibu of Wrestle Purist noted that AEW didn't suspend MJF, but suspended Britt Baker because HR saw it as MJF defending Atout and didn't feel it should be punishable. Ibu said all of these things are true. MJF did punch a wall as reported. MJF did 100% go into the women's locker room. The question now is, and the question that many fans have and is still asking, why did he not get suspended? The reason why he didn't get suspended is because of the context and order of these events. According to multiple sources, when MJF hit the wall, it was not a case of like he was in front of Baker and he punched the wall right next to her. Apparently, He had this interaction with Baker. He walked very, very, very far down the hallway where no one was there and punched the wall, which is a different context than, like, you know, in the women's locker room, punching walls amongst other talent. He continued, regarding the women's locker room aspect of the story, the official information I got was that it was after this whole thing, apparently, it had calmed down. Apparently, Will Ospreay was the first person to confront Baker, and he was just kind of asking her why she started issues. Ospreay confronted her, asked about it, and Britt Baker went off on Alicia. Britt Baker called Alicia Atout by multiple counts a stupid fucking bitch because Alicia informed MJF that Baker was berating him, talking crap about Max and Ospreay, and the fact that they went 1 hour with their 59 minutes and 58-second match on Dynamite. Because she was basically like, this is what the story had already been told, and she's burying them and their match, and the match is going on. Alicia lets Max know via text. Max finds out later. Ospreay approaches. MJF comes to the defense of his fiance. That's news to me. Britt Baker goes off on Alicia for being a snitch. She accused her of being a snitch, calling her a stupid fucking bitch. She said she was going to get her kicked out of the women's locker room, so on and so forth. MJF going into the women's locker room was allegedly him going there, knocking and asking if he could enter, and them saying that he could enter, and that's when he got into the locker room. Sounds like a fucking mess. Jesus Christ. First of all, the one thing that I called out, Jason, and the first thing I want to address here is, if Britt Baker is discussing anything with anybody in the women's locker room about anything that's happening on TV, I would say that they have every right to, but, you know, if you really have a problem with what's going on or why you're not getting TV time and why these two are getting 1 hour, what about my fucking shit that's happening at All In with Mercedes? Why are we getting so little? Why don't you go take it up with the guy who fucking finalizes the show? Why are you telling Alicia Atout? That's what I want to know. Number one. Number two, Alicia is there. She went to go tell Max, which, I mean, any significant other would go and do that. But Britt, like, she's already got problems before this, and now you're just egging on someone who's probably there and hired because Max got her a recommendation. Tony hired her to keep Max happy, and Britt already kind of feels that Alicia doesn't deserve to be there. Why are you here? You're not an active talent. Get out of my locker room. Why are you there automatically starting fucking problems is what I want. You're not even back for 3 weeks, and you're already starting fucking problems. So right out of the gate, Britt is acting entitled upon return after this great promo she cut, sympathetic promo, and now we're hearing all this story. It's like, why do you put yourself in that position to begin with when everything that I've read here is completely avoidable? I don't really understand it.
There was also a report from Andrew Zarian, who said that this is not the first time that there has been an incident or problems with Britt Baker. So that's what he was reporting as well on the Matt Men podcast. And again, we've heard about issues in the past because, look, this is locker room stuff, but it leaks. And that may be one of the biggest issues in AEW. Okay, beyond the fact that this stuff is happening, it's the fact that it's being leaked by somebody who wants it out. Okay, whatever their agenda is, it's leaking out and it makes everybody look bad. It makes everybody look childish. But if this is a recurring issue here, and we heard about stuff in the past with Thunder Rosa, and, you know, a lot of stories going back and forth about that. That's kind of ancient news at this point. Then there's a problem here that needs to be addressed. I thought that the key line, because it was Meltzer, I think, who first reported all of this. The key line in the original report was that apparently, you know, MJF and Britt Baker used to be friends or good friends, and they had a falling out. Sometime over the past year, they had a falling out. Maybe it was because, you know, Adam Cole turned on MJF at World's End. Maybe that's what led to all this happening. But whatever it was never addressed. There was an issue between them that was never addressed. And so I guess it kind of exploded onto the scene here with this incident. Now we all know about it. Now, I don't know the nature of what that issue was. I don't claim to know the nature of the issue. Frankly, I don't really give a shit.
None of our business either. Who gives a shit?
None of our business either. I mean, we're talking about this because obviously it became a story. But whatever the issue is, the fact is, this is not the first time that we have heard something like this where there was an issue with people in the locker room that was not addressed. And then what happened, right? It went kaboom. And it led to something clearly that led to her being suspended. That goes all the way back and reminds me of CM Punk and Hangman Page back in 2022, where there was a little whisper campaign in the locker room about Punk, being the one responsible for trying to get Colt Cabana fired, or, why we didn't see him on TV anymore. And Punk, claimed, I never did that. Tony should have taken care of this. You should have said something, and he didn't. And we saw what happened there too. So yet again, we're in a situation here, and I don't know what Tony Khan knew or didn't know. I would think that if people clearly know that there was a falling out between two of his biggest stars on a personal level, obviously people in the locker room knew about this. If Tony were to get wind of it, again, maybe if it's that serious, take care of it before it blows up. I don't know what he did or didn't know. Apparently, he may not have even had anything to do with this disciplinary committee. He left it to them. They made a decision, and she got suspended. If she is suspended for good reason, here's my kind of issue with this. She's going to be back on TV this week. So her suspension was maybe 2 weeks, a week or two at the most.
And she was at Comic-Con. So how long was it?
Well, I was going to say, if she was fined, I don't know what she would have been fined. That means that she was suspended when she shot that angle at Comic-Con, where Tony Khan was there, on the panel, and he made the match official for Wembley Stadium with her and Mercedes Moné.
Yeah.
So this strikes me as being nothing really all that serious, because if it was that super serious, she wouldn't have been there taking part in that angle in the first place. But if these things are happening and you're going to punish people for it, you're going to send them home. Like, your big punishment is that I'm going to take you off the road, and you're going to be getting extra time at home for a week or two, and then you're just going to be back like nothing ever happened. If you're really trying to punish people, it just feels like there's nothing behind it. Like, if you're going to punish someone, if you're trying to send a message to them, then punish them. Then pull her from her match at Wembley Stadium with Mercedes. That would take a big match away from Tony's card. Then Mercedes wouldn't be happy about it. But I fail to see what these supposed punishments are really doing to deter people from this kind of behavior in the future. It just feels like it's got no real merit.
Well, I mean, it just sounds ridiculous. You're a stupid fucking bitch. All right, you're fined and suspended. I don't think she was fined and suspended for calling somebody a stupid fucking bitch.
No, and that's what Zarian seemed to indicate when he spoke about this, is that this was not a one incident thing. That's not why she was suspended. Which that makes sense to me, because to be suspended over this, I don't get it. If she attacked MJF and tried to choke him out or something, pulled a Punk and tried to choke him out or something, that would be different. Or if she went after Alicia and they got in a cat fight or something, that I could understand that, because you don't put your hands on other people. But that didn't happen here. And if that's the worst of what she said, that tells me that there's other stuff that must have happened that led to this. And that presents a problem for Tony Khan, because again, this woman is back for a few weeks and all of a sudden you have an issue and she's suspended and it leaked. And it just makes you and your company look terrible. It just, again, makes you look like you can't manage all of these different personalities that you have behind the scenes. Now, this was reported as like MJF barged into or walked into the women's locker room.
I don't believe for a second he barged into any locker room.
No. And my understanding is that this didn't happen in the women's locker room. It's that they, Ospreay too, like he wanted to speak to Britt. They ended up meeting in a common area. That's what Mike Johnson said on PW Insider. So it wasn't in the women's locker room. This is why I didn't comment on this when the story first broke, because I knew there were going to be more details and probably conflicting details that came out. When these stories first break, you get all these details that are out there, and who knows fact from fiction. So apparently nothing happened in the women's locker room itself. I don't know if it had to do with her being upset about him getting an hour of TV time for his match. Like you said, if you have an issue with that, take it up with the guy who formatted the show. I don't really.
Well, I mean, even that, like, why are you complaining about that when there are other things that you could be complaining about with the fucking show, though? Like, I mean,
right, but we don't know if that's what she was complaining about. I'm just saying the way the story was presented, it almost made it sound like she was upset that maybe he got half the show for his segment, right? But we don't know that. We don't know if that's the nature of their issue, because they had a falling out. This could be something that's been festering for a while. But we can't keep hearing about stuff like this. Like, it's just, my thing is this. This is not to say that WWE or other promotions don't have clashes between personalities behind the scenes, or people get into arguments or near fisticuffs. I'm sure it happens a lot. Guess what? We don't hear about it. We don't hear about it, but like people were pointing out that, well, MVP is all over Instagram making negative comments about Triple H. How come nobody's talking about the drama in WWE? Which I did talk about, but that's neither here nor there. But that's very different than what we're talking about here, right? Those two things aren't exactly the same. But WWE, I tend to think they do a good job of keeping their shit in-house. So if there's stuff that happens, maybe we don't hear about it. And if it did happen, they probably would take care of it in a way where you wouldn't do it again, right? Because they know that if they're going to cause problems, they're probably not going to be around for very long. My sense is, from all the stories we've heard over these last couple of years, whether it was Punk and the Elite, or Punk choking Jack Perry, or Sammy Guevara and Andrade and the sucker punch, and now this, and just countless stories of just nonsensical backstage drama and fighting.
Can you repeat? Because can you repeat what you just said? That someone would do it again, you know, they'd be reprimanded, and then it will never happen again. Is that what you said?
Well, this is my yes, and this is my point, that for all of these incidents that you hear about, it just strikes me that if these people really thought that there was going to be some sort of price to pay for behaving in this way, they wouldn't do it. The fact that they do it means that they don't take it seriously. They don't think that Tony Khan is going to really do anything. They don't respect him in that way, or they're not afraid of him or intimidated by him in that way, because you're not going to be hearing about this shit if this is over there. Maybe that's one area. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's one area where Shane can actually make a difference. Maybe he can come in and say, "Hey, you know, this shit don't fly over there." Maybe they can make him the enforcer behind the scenes.
But you may have put the kibosh on all this, because Britt's back, right? She was out for, how long was she out?
9 months.
9 months, about a year, right? She was out for a year.
September was her last match before her recent match.
Britt in year 1 to year 3, untouchable. She could say and do whatever she wants. She was under Tony Khan's thumb. Tony Khan has changed AEW radically since Britt's been gone, and now Britt's back, and she felt like she could throw that weight around like she used to, and she's the first one suspended here, being back for 3 weeks. Maybe she is not as big as she was in year 1 to year 3. Maybe the power that she has is not there anymore. So if you're looking at both of these individuals, in MJF and Britt Baker, and Britt Baker's throwing her weight around, now got suspended, and MJF's at the top of the fucking food chain, who are you looking at as far as, oh man, who am I going to suspend? Am I going to suspend Britt Baker? Or am I going to suspend the number one draw in the company, the guy who brings in the ratings most weeks? I'm going to suspend MJF. I feel like Britt is not going to be able to get away with half of the shit that she used to. That's the whole thing now. She thought she can, she thinks she can, but now she can't.
Well, I mean, and from the sounds of it, she instigated what happened here. I mean, if she made the initial comments, and then MJF was just responding to it, whether he was genuinely upset or just felt like he had to defend his girlfriend or fiance, whichever she is, can't do that. You know, you can't do that and expect that with him in the position he's in, that you're not going to have some kind of price to be paid. But evidently she doesn't care. But I think that, again, we've heard other stories of other people over these last few years, and it just doesn't strike me as that they really fear any repercussions in this company. They don't fear that leadership in the company, i.e. Tony Khan, is going, like they're going to lose their job over it. So, you know, they could just do what they want and express themselves in whichever way they want to. And then those stories leak, and it makes it sound like you've got this unruly locker room and nobody gets along. And I'm sure most people probably get along, but these are the stories that leak, and these are the stories that people hear. And it doesn't paint a very good picture of things behind the scenes. It just doesn't seem like they're not afraid of punishment. So this punishment that, you know, Britt Baker was suspended for 2 weeks, like, who cares? Is that going to stop her from, potentially doing something like this again, or making an offhanded comment to somebody in the future? Of course not.
No. And the more it sounds like, the more I think about it, it's like, why the fuck would MJF give a shit about what Britt Baker's thinking about his match? He's going to get his no matter what. Like, I don't give a fuck what Britt thinks about my match. I just went out and had match of the year. with Will Ospreay. It was more
No.
about him defending his fiance, and at that point, I mean, who are you to tell him he's wrong? He's only doing what a gentleman and a man would do in that situation. Well, what's true or not, that remains to be seen. I don't know what was said.
If that's what it was.
Yeah,
I mean, again, maybe that, or maybe he just was bothered by the fact that somebody was talking shit about him in the locker room. He wanted to confront her about it. So we don't know which came first, right? The chicken or the egg. We don't know. We don't know what we don't know. But just going based off this, it's nonsense. The whole thing is nonsense. It's very childish. There's a reason why I call it All Elite Elementary, because it comes off like you wouldn't even necessarily see this kind of stuff in school. I mean, and it just happens way more than it should, it feels like, in this company. The only thing that surprises me about this is that we didn't hear about this the week of All In, because traditionally, whenever AEW has a big pay-per-view or a big show, there's always some bullshit drama that breaks out like that week or that weekend that completely overshadows everything else. I think the same thing happened with World's End last year when MJF was coming to Long Island and defending his title. There was some other controversy that happened. So I'm just surprised it happened now and didn't happen at the end of the month. But better to get it out of the way now, because the last thing they need is more stories like this coming out. You're heading into your biggest show of the year. You don't need this stuff.
No.
You don't need this stuff. So she'll be back apparently on TV this week. Hopefully there won't be another incident here.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see what her and Mercedes do. I'm excited for the match. I'm glad that Britt's back. You know, I think she adds a presence to TV. We all know this. That's much needed.
I'm glad she's back, and I think Jamie Hayter is probably on her way back, and I'm excited to see what happens with them and Camille and Mercedes. And we don't need to be hearing about shit like this. It shouldn't be happening. You know, but again, it's AEW, and this is not the first time we've heard something like this. And if there's an issue, now we know, right now everybody knows there's an issue. Shouldn't somebody step in and maybe try to pull them together and say, hey guys, come here for a second.
Yeah.
You know, like let's just sit down and hash this out.
Yeah. Speaking of All In, before we get to your super chats, guys, there's one major change that potentially could be on the horizon for All In, as this is also being reported by Wrestle Purists and Ibu of Wrestle Purists. He says that the Lucha Brothers are expected to go to WWE. So the Lucha Brothers were originally going to wrestling at Wembley Stadium with Pac. At one point, they were pegged to wrestle the Patriarchy, Christian Cage, Killswitch, and Nick Wayne for the Trios Championships. That match now is not happening. He added that he isn't sure at this time if Death Triangle, Phoenix, Penta, and Pac will be featured at All In. And while the former AEW Tag Team Champions are expected to leave AEW, Ibu shared that it's not completely set in stone that they will go to WWE. Multiple sources within AEW towards me, he says, basically made it clear to me that Lucha Brothers are expected to depart AEW at the end of their contract. Some of them speculated that WWE was the destination. Others outright said it was a formality. I already see this, AEW fans are already kind of turning their back on the Lucha Brothers after 5 years. But if you really think about it, Jason, we discussed this, I believe it was either last week or the week before that, both with Penta and Phoenix, both tremendous talents. You see that with the roster that Tony Khan continues to add to month after month, year over year, that when Lucha Brothers in year one stood out and were unlike anything we've seen on American television, and they were just all over the place, and they were special and unique, and they were so amazing. Year over year, Tony Khan kind of dumbed down what they brought to the table by bringing in someone like a Vikingo or, anybody that's a luchador that's great at what they do in Mexico. I mean, we've seen the Forbidden Door still open to this day after Forbidden Door is closed in July. We see that he's added Hologram and all these other lucha talents, and the bloated roster has kind of dumbed down what we know of both Penta and Phoenix. So if they were to leave AEW and go to WWE, I feel like they would find that shine again. They would find that uniqueness and special feel that they had in year one, year two in AEW, because how many of the people over in WWE are doing what Rey Fenix and Pentagon Jr. are doing? I can't imagine anybody, really. I mean, a handful of guys, maybe. Meanwhile, in AEW, it's like everybody does what they do, and their uniqueness is not there anymore. So if they were to jump ship, I think it would be not only a great career move for the fans, you'd be seeing something special out of those two guys, and we know what they can bring to the table. We've called many of their matches before in House of Glory. I think it's a great move, and I'm very excited to see what they do if they do end up in WWE. And I said the same thing about Okada. I said the same thing about Ospreay. I'd love to see those talents and what Triple H would do to them and how he would work with them. I'm in the same boat here. If it is legit and they do end up going there, not only is it going to be great for both of them, but man, that tag team division is going to get one hell of a tag team in the Lucha Brothers.
Yeah, I remember there was a lot of excitement about Dragon Lee coming to WWE, and they made a big deal about that. And then he came in, and he had a nice run in NXT for himself. He got called up to the main roster. It looked like he was getting a little bit of a push, and he's just fallen off a cliff. I don't even know where he is. I don't know what's going on with him. So I would caution people to, curb their enthusiasm until it happens, and then we see exactly, how Triple H, unless they go to NXT. I heard this story, and my immediate thought was, I wonder if they would use them as a way to maybe really beef up NXT heading into the CW debut. And maybe they would go there first, because they're bringing in Julia and Stephanie, Vicaire, and you bring in the Lucha Bros. There's rumors about Motor City Machine Guns, and maybe they want to really load things up in NXT and not necessarily just kind of vault them immediately to the main roster. So that's a possibility as well. But I'm happy for them if that's where they're going, because Penta's great. I love Penta. Phoenix, there's been reports that he's been back now from his injury, but he's maybe still banged up. I mean, he's not like that. He had a match, I think, maybe on Collision not that long ago. And there were people who were there saying he really wasn't moving around the way that he normally does. So I'm not even honestly sure what his status is, if he's 100% back to, the old Rey Fenix or not. It could be that, you get to a point where you get to an age where time, age, injuries start to catch up to you. Someone like Phoenix, he's not going to be able to work that style forever. And if they feel like this could be their shot, this could be their one opportunity to go there, if that was a goal of theirs, then they need to go there. They need to go there now. When this rumor first popped up about Penta's contract, I said it at the time. I said, I can't get in his head and know what's important to him. Is it more important to him to have the freedom to work other places, to still work Mexico and do indies, like HOG and places like that? Or does, he want to go to WWE? I don't know. It sounds like they may have made their choice. I think they would be a great addition to that roster. I am reserving judgment, though, because I can't say that some of these lucha stars they brought in are necessarily in the position that some people would like to see them in. And I'm already seeing the jokes about, this is going to be great, Penta and Rey Fenix, welcome to, Legado del Fantasma. It's possible. They may get lumped in to a faction like that. I think that would be a mistake. They're a very unique team. They would stand out in that tag team division. I think they would instantly be over. Penta would instantly be over. Doesn't matter.
The merch he's going to sell? Oh, my goodness.
The gloves. You can sell Penta gloves,
Mask,
and he pulls off the gloves. Every show throws it into the crowd. Oh, my God. I mean, they could be, they're a marketing machine. So I think it's smart for WWE to go after them, especially for the tag division. But I'm going to temper my expectations about how they actually end up being used until I see it happen.
Yeah. I'm excited for it if it does happen. I agree with you there. And listen, it's a nice trade-off, AEW fans. If these two jump ship, Tony's got hologram on Collision, you're going to end up getting Ricochet. The fuck is the problem? Stop complaining. Seriously.
And you got, Black Taurus, I guess he has the new name now.
Yep.
The Beast Mortos.
Yep.
He's really good. He's really good. And so he's another one. Again, we don't see him every week necessarily, unless maybe you're watching ROH. I know he just pinned the ROH champion in a tag match recently, so he'll probably get a title shot maybe on that show soon. But yeah, I mean, look, it's not like they have any shortage of lucha talent and people who work that style. So it's not like AEW is going to fall apart without them, but they were a big part of the original fabric of that company. It feels, it would feel like another piece of the original AEW is falling off if they were to leave. And I don't know what happens with Alex, Abrahantes, if he sticks around in AEW or not, because that, he kind of loses his gig in a way if they leave. I don't think he'd be coming with them, but it does feel like if that happens, a little piece of that original AEW falls away if they leave.
Plus, they've done everything they can there, so I think a change of scenery is going to be good for them if that's the case. Guys, thank you very much for sticking with us. We had a consistent 2,700 in here for episode 60. Jason and I appreciate it. Please follow us on social media and on YouTube. Everything you need is linked down below in the description. Go subscribe to Jason's channel. Please follow him on social media. And please hit that thumbs up. We're over 1,000 likes. You guys hit the goal, so we both appreciate it very much. El Mase, $20 super chat. JD, the Tribal Chief, and the Solomonster, the Learning Tree. If you could pick a WWE mid-carder for a House of Glory dream match, who would it be? I would pick Uncle Howdy versus Charles Mason and Dominic Mysterio versus Amazing Red. Those are two good ones. Honestly.
Yeah. Hey, we'd love to have Dom. I'd love to have Chad Gable come in, for a match. I think that would be great. There's a lot of WWE talent kind of in the middle of the card that I think would add something if they were to be allowed to come in for an HOG show. Hey, the commissioner's phone is always open. So,
Phoenix Downs with a $4.99. Shout out to JD and Solo, two of the best in the IWC. Buy or sell on the better rant. Solomonster for Hell in a Cell 2019 or JD for Battleground 2017. I don't know. I'd have to go back and listen to your Hell in a Cell 2019 rant.
Yeah, it was. If I remember, I think that was my birthday, and so imagine having to watch that horrible shit show on your birthday.
God damn! I never want to fucking hear that show ever again. Oh my god,
that was awful.
That and the Fiend and Goldberg fiasco in Saudi Arabia. Nope.
Oh yeah, that was another one. Yeah, the dead Fiend in the desert.
Sidra with a $10 super chat. Cheers to my two favorites. It's my birthday today. Going out for some steak. Now a joke from the past. How many Vince McMahons does it take to screw in a light bulb? None. Light bulb screwed light bulb, pal. I don't get it.
That you don't get it.
Light bulb screwed light bulb?
Yeah. Brett screwed Brett.
Well, yeah, that okay.
Come on.
All right.
That's an old joke. Sidro, you can do better than that, but I won't heel on you too hard because it's your birthday. So happy birthday. Happy birthday, brother.
Jackie Boy with a $10 super chat. AEW locker room is like a cheap prostitute. It's open to all, and that causes stuff to come out. WWE, on the other hand, is locked up tighter than a nun's kickers, and you hardly hear anything from it.
What exactly is coming out? That's quite the visual there.
And who is leaking? I don't know. I don't want to make any speculation, but that shit's got to stop.
Well, Jerry Lawler that time, right? The anal
anal bleeding.
Anal, yeah.
Oh God, I seen a clip of that on social media the other day.
Jim Ross's reaction is classic. The way he just kind of looks in the camera like, what am I doing here? Like, what am I doing with my life?
Booker T's what?
Yeah. I'm sure. Believe me, that was his legitimate, genuine reaction. I'm sure.
Adam JD 519 with a $5 super chat, raising a toast of Gentleman Jack and Coke to JD and Solomonster. OTS and Solomonster sounds off for life. Hashtag TNT. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, man.
Donnie with a 5. As a big Shield guy, it's great to finally see Roman finally be the babyface we knew he could be. Yeah. It only took fucking 9 years. Teresa, new membership. Thank you, Teresa. Captain Solo with 37 months. I want to see Solomonster and JD in a picture as the Bushwhackers. No, you don't.
I think that there already is one, actually. Let me see if I have them saved. I thought there was a Bushwhackers one.
Baby Shaq with 27 months. What's good, JD and Solo? Xavier Woods turning heel would be a good idea to get away from Kofi? Question mark. No, I think Jason kind of laid it out. I don't think he needs to go heel, but kind of branch out because they don't believe he could do it on his own and then eventually find his way back to his brothers.
Yep, there's a Bushwhacker one. It's awful.
Oh, God.
You are, you're Butch. And I'm Luke. So maybe we'll use this one of these weekends. Maybe I'll post this one. I have one tooth in my mouth in this picture.
God.
This is awful.
Therese-
You've got hair on the side, but like barely any hair down the middle. So
Teresa with a $10 super chat. What's going on, guys? Mercedes is calling both Becky and Bayley. Hey, fellow horsewomen, come on over to AEW and we can do our own thing. No.
Not going to happen.
No, she's not. No. No, they're not. They're not going anywhere. Bayley just re-signed and Becky ain't going nowhere. Andre with a $5 super chat. I saw online the Wyatt Sicks next feud should be the Judgment Day. What's everybody's thought on that? Maybe next year, but not imminently.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that they could do for sure. I don't know if it'll be their next one. 'Cause I had somebody last night ask me that. Do I think it should be the Final Testament or the Judgment Day? I said, well, it can be the Final Testament if you want to kill off the Wyatt Sicks.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think they could aim a little higher than that.
Phantom with a $100 super chat. Really enjoyed SummerSlam. Jacob Fatu is quickly becoming my favorite wrestler. Nia and Bayley was awful. Gunther versus Priest was excellent. Was kind of hoping Priest would win, but you can't have Gunther lose. Happy Punk made it out of SummerSlam healthy. Cheers, JD and Solo. Phantom, thank you for your generosity, brother. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, man. That's awesome.
Stallions Productions with a $4.99. What's going on with Adam Cole? Heard he moved out of Florida solo. You see Owens in AEW. Who you see being the next big star in AEW that's homegrown? What's going on with Adam Cole? I don't know. I don't know Adam Cole, but he did post somewhere that he's moving to Pennsylvania on his own. I don't know what's going on with him and Britt. None of my business.
It means that particular day he was by himself and he was moving somewhere.
Yes.
It means nothing. I mean, again, people make a big deal out of this stuff. It's none of our business, but I would not read too much into it.
No. Owens in AEW? No. He retires in WWE. And the next big star in AEW that's homegrown? Sky Blue.
If he re-signs, Daniel Garcia gonna get a big push. If he re-signs, he'll be feuding with MJF and he might beat him.
I think so. Jackie Boy with a 1 month. Glad Logan lost. Now we could go focus on suing YouTubers that call out his scams to try and keep them quiet. Hope the door hits him on the ass on the way out.
I think CoffeeZilla did a good video on him some time ago.
Yes. Again, I don't really follow all that drama, but I mean, yes, Logan's not going to be a fan favorite of his antics outside of pro wrestling. Delwyn Jones with a $20 super chat. Evening, lads. Thought the Undertaker's tease on WWE's return. Yeah, we briefly mentioned that when he talked about Logan Paul having a commendable run as United States champion. I'm looking for one more match. You can see the look on his face. He's itching to get back in the ring. He wants one last match with fans. But who would he face? Drew or Chad would be my choice. Drew McIntyre's a good choice.
You talking about the Undertaker?
Yeah.
He's not coming.
I hope you're right.
I don't even know. I didn't see the interview yet,
Me
but
neither.
like he has numerous times, even on his own podcast, said that he occasionally flirts with the idea, but he is not coming back. I don't know why.
I was in Philly.
I don't know why this keeps being a story.
I was in Philly and I went to his One Dead Man show, and the way he walks, even after the knee surgeries or the hip surgery, whatever he had, I mean, it's still not good. I don't want to see him wrestle anymore. I'm good.
No, he's done. He's done. And even after WrestleMania this year, he said like he got it out of his system. He had that moment in front of the crowd, and it was like a weight lifted off his shoulders. He had a moment of clarity, and he realized like I'm good now. So he's not coming back.
Captain Solo with a $5 super chat. Logan Paul's U.S. title run was absolutely garbage. I don't care what anybody says. 2 defenses prior to SummerSlam, please. I agree, and so does Jason.
Thank you.
Jackie Boy with a $5 super chat. Is it me or does J.D. McNuggets look like Lord Farquaad from Shrek 1?
He does, actually. He does. Well, he looks like a Funko, but
Yeah.
he also looks like him as well.
You know, the J.D. sucks chants during his match on Raw last night were quite fitting, huh?
You said it. I didn't say anything about that. You brought that up. Right? Even on commentary, they acknowledged it. I was looking away. I was doing something, and I just heard, I think, Michael Cole say JD sucks. And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I lost context for a minute, and then I realized what he was talking about. I thought you had done something. I thought you would piss somebody off again.
Well, no, I'm actually quite pleasant to them nowadays, so I don't know why they would dislike me. Cake with the $2 super chat. WWE wants to talk with Ronda Rousey. You hear? Do they? I hope not. I'm also done with her. She's pregnant. She's not coming back. She just announced that she's
another kid.
Yeah. Q, the content guy, with a $5 super chat. One of the Android's best matches. I can't even speak now. Was with Naomi. Run that back again on a bigger stage. Maybe even have them feud. Yes, I agree. That was a very good match. But Naomi is not really doing much of anything nowadays. So the fact that she'll feud with Charlotte again is highly unlikely.
No, she's going to join with Bianca and Jade against Blair Davenport and
the unholy
Alba Fire and Isla Dawn.
Unholy union. Mm-hmm. Captain Solo with a 5. Listen, Solomonster, all cats and doggies are beautiful, especially Larry.
I said Larry is very unique. He's a very unique pup.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Mm-hmm. Jackie Boy with a $2 super chat. Larry is pro wrestling's dog pool. LC Killer 17 with a $5 super chat. What do you guys do with a situation with MJF and Britt Baker, because that's made AEW a bunch of dumbasses? What do you do?
You don't do anything. You already suspended her, so you can't punish her twice for the same thing. You hope that they can work out their beef. Tony feels he needs to step in. Hopefully he'll step in and he'll take control of the situation. But otherwise, I don't think a whole lot's going to be done.
Scripts with 35 months in counting. JD, I hope you and Solomonster are a huge success. Thank you, Scripts. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Demeter Bullion. $7.99 from our friend Demeter Bullion. JD and Han Solo, Sikoa monster. I think Solo and Bloodline attack Jimbo Uso and make him bleed. Then Roman challenges Solo to a first blood match at Bad Blood. Okay, I like the last half of that. Jimbo Uso's a new one. Haven't heard him use use Jimbo Uso yet, but there you go.
There's so many Usos. It's possible there is a Jimbo Uso. You won't hear Rikishi talking about him though, because he's so preoccupied with Jay. I hope he watched his other son in the main event at SummerSlam and didn't just not watch the show.
JD, are you ready for the yeet line? Says Cake in the $2 super chat. No, I'm not. Actually, yes, I am. I can't wait to see Jay's star power in the OG Bloodline. Oh, my God. Poo-poo, diarrhea. I have diarrhea. Demeter Bullion. $1 super chat and no message. Thank you, bro. I appreciate it.
Sounds like he's having a rough night.
Captain Solo at a 5. Hey, guys, which gimmick do you think was the worst? Avatar, Aldo Montoya, Max Moon, Dean Douglas, or Flash Funk? And which was the best?
Well, I mean, Aldo Montoya is the only one who had to walk around and wrestle with a jockstrap on his face. So I'll say that was the worst one of the bunch. And
Dean Douglas is the best one.
No, I was going to go Flash Funk because he would come out with the Funkettes. Yeah, the Funkettes were... Wait, was it the Funkettes or am I thinking of...
No, I think you're thinking of Brodus Clay, no?
Am I? Yeah, but I could have sworn Flash Funk...
Look it up. I don't know. You're the historian here. I don't know.
Hold on a second. Didn't Flash Funk have the Funkette? Hold on. Flash Funk.
I'm surprised there's no Mantar in this list.
All right, here. Maybe there were 2 sets of Funkette. Here we go. The Funkettes have their own page. And when I click on... Yep. He had Nadine and Tracy.
Okay.
They were the Funkettes. So then did they have the Funkettes again with Brodus Clay?
Funkadactyls?
Oh, is that what Funkadactyls? That's what it was.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. All right.
Yes, Flash Funk was great.
Yeah, I mean, guy was a pimp. He would come out with the jacket. Yeah. He was dancing with the ladies. So I'd be Flash Funk.
Bid Moon with $1.99. 2 legends. Whiskey emoji. We the ones. Thank you, Bid Moon. Don 10 with a $5 super chat. Better sci-fi horror movie, John Carpenter's The Thing or Ridley Scott's Alien? Ooh,
The Thing.
I'm going Alien.
The Thing. Well, I'm a John Carpenter guy, and The Thing is one of the best movies of all time. So.
Alien and Aliens are two of my favorite movies of all time. So
Alien's great. You're gonna see this alien Romulus. You are? Okay.
Yes. I'm very excited.
I don't know. I haven't seen any of the other recent Alien movies, so I don't know if I need to see anything before if I wanted to watch this one.
I think this one takes place between 1 and I want to say between 1 and 2.
Okay.
Prometheus is good too, and the last one I forgot what the last one was really good.
Yeah, Prometheus. I didn't see Prometheus.
Yeah, Prometheus is good.
But The Thing, yeah, I mean, The Thing is just a classic, and the thing about The Thing is, it's not any one thing. It's. Have you seen the movie?
Honestly, no, I have not.
Oh, I don't want to spoil it. You really should see it. Like it's a really good movie. And the thing I love about it, practical effects. And so the practical effects, it's very gory, certain parts of the movie. But it's so well done, and it makes me miss because now everything's CGI.
Yeah.
But yeah, you need to check that movie out for sure.
It's one thing I loved about Aliens. Even though they were like fucking costumed and made up, aliens, they looked fucking great. You don't see that type of shit no more, honestly.
No.
Triple M with a $2 super chat. Full solstice set done for Hunter, but no rocket launcher. Yeah, I did some earlier, brother. I don't know if I'm going to be on later, but I am bored right now until Act 3. Michael Liege with a $5 super chat. Wesley turned heel tonight on NXT in a great move by Shawn Michaels. I don't know why Wesley would turn on the Rascals, but I have to go back and see that. I like Wesley. What happened with Joe Hendry? Was he on the show tonight? I heard he was gonna say goodbye to everybody. I don't know what that meant. Krauser with a 2. Hey guys, NXT was really good tonight. Yeah, you guys told me that 3 weeks ago, and then I fell asleep to it. Cake, $2 super chat. Jey Uso really set the bar for branching out. He did. Joshua Lavacek with a $4.99. Currently working, but I just wanted to say thanks for the consistently amazing work, and always remember the house always wins. 818 Hardcore represent. Thank you, Joshua. Vinny with a $4.99. TK reminds me of that dorky neighbor your mom makes you play with when you're younger, but you can't stand them. He's quite awkward. Ali with a $4.99. I'm sure he's quite awkward, but I'm sure he's got a good heart. I hear a lot of good things about Tony, the human being. Ali with a $4.99. When I heard Shatter play for the Wyatt Sicks, it brought tears to my eyes, missing Bray Wyatt so much. I could see that being the case. A lot of people probably felt that way. Lauren with a 2. I love how they acknowledge Orton versus Gunther. They did a good job last night. Very simple, too. LC Killer with a 2. I feel something bad's going to happen at All In.
Something? Oh, you mean behind the scenes? Like brawl?
Yeah, Brawl In.
At this rate, I wouldn't be surprised. Brawl In, too. They need to have extra security in the back, just in case.
Yeah, just keep Britt away from the media scrum.
Yeah.
Lauren, $2 super chat. You think AEW will punish Britt Baker? They already did. They fined and suspended her for 2 weeks. Pabman with a $1.99. Dijak was the perfect replacement for Priest. He was. And now he's on the free agent market. And he's coming to House of Glory on September 5th. Easy with 18 months. Hey, JD, SummerSlam was in my hometown. The atmosphere was great. And now Bad Blood is in my current residence of Georgia. I can't wait for that. OTS for life. Bad Blood is already sold out, guys. So if, or at least on his way to being sold out very quickly. So if you guys don't have tickets, gotta act fast. Cake with a $2 super chat. People don't get not everything needs to be MCU. In what way? I mean, unless you're The Rock. The Rock and his party want to go full Marvel for sure.
Well, that's only because The Rock tried to get DC and he failed.
Yeah. Cake, Triple H isn't the only alternative. He's the main thing. He is. He's doing a great job, too. Blue Jay with a $1.99. Competition is good. Stop tribalism. Childish. Firm handshakes. Thank you, Blue Jay. Desires. I lost you. There you are. $4.99. I just tuned in. Sorry if you already talked about it, but thoughts on NXT CW debut being in the Allstate Arena in Chicago. Lucha Bros debut. Desires. We talked about all that. than the show. I think it's a great thing. Jason thinks it's a great thing that they're going on the road for Allstate in Chicago. It's a great business move. David with a 499. Bigger career when it's all said and done. Javon Evans or Nick Wayne? It's a good question. I'm going to go Javon Evans.
When all is said and done, Javon Evans is 20.
Yeah.
Right? Nick Wayne is what? 23?
No, I think Nick Wayne. I think they're around the same age. I think Nick Wayne is either 19 or 20. Honestly,
I'm gonna go Nick Wayne.
Okay. Otis, 31 months. Great show, guys. Love you all. Love this family. Shout out to Solo, killing it. Hashtag OTS Bloodline. Thank you, brother. See you on the stream tomorrow.
Thank you, dude.
BC 24 with 499. JD, has any backlash online ever genuinely shook you? Yeah. Yeah, the Alexa Bliss thing kind of fucked me over for a few days. And the Jade Cargill situation, which was not my fault because they blew it out of proportion. Can't handle criticism over there. That really got me because I know I didn't do anything wrong. And all these nasty things coming at me. All I said was, please God, no, for another Marina Shafir and Jade Cargill match. And then, forget about it. I'm the worst guy ever. Krauser with the $2 Super Chat. Cena beats Orton for the World Heavyweight Championship at Mania. No. Now, Gunther is going to be the world champion at WrestleMania and leaving WrestleMania. I think him and Dragunov will be the world championship match at WrestleMania.
Plus, he's talking about the WWE title. I mean, we talked about if Cody and Orton wrestle later this year and Orton wins the title, you could conceivably set up a scenario in which he defends against John Cena at WrestleMania.
Could. I think they should wrestle at WrestleMania with or without the title.
Yeah, I mean, it should be the WrestleMania match. One of two things: either Cena's WrestleMania match, or if they want Orton to be Cena's last match, that would mean waiting until December. So it's got to be one or the other. Eminem
200-183 with a $5 Super Chat. Awesome show as always. JD, you and Solo are the greatest podcast hosts. Also, ask Jason about my pitch for the podcast War Games match. A podcast War Games match, huh? What is this about?
I don't have it in front of me, but he had pitched a potential War Games match involving various podcasting personalities. Of which we were included, and then I just don't remember all of the other ones, so I don't want to leave anybody out. But my strategy would be very simple. My strategy would be to just stay out of the way.
Yeah.
And let everybody else fight it out. And then just grab the biggest weapon I can find and then just use it when the time is right. That's what I would do.
Weapon of choice, I'm going with I like a good kendo stick. I'll take a good kendo stick.
I would use a malice.
Okay. That looks like you really want war in there, I see.
I really want to win.
Yeah, okay. Boots with a $5 Super Chat. Scoop. This is running a poll on IWC's studliest stud muffin, but forgot to include you two, the best in the IWC. I am not a studliest stud muffin by any stretch of the imagination. But thank you, Boots. Appreciate it. CM, Punky, Funky, Junky, Wonky, Tucky, Bro, Hunky, Yucky B with a 99-cent Super Chat. I know who that is. Thank you, Demeter Bullion. Jesus Christ. Thomas with the 12-month. Solomonster, all elementary wrestling. Brilliant. I do wish AEW gets better soon. For healthy competition helps wrestlers, fans, and podcasters. Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you, Thomas. All elite elementary.
Also, Thomas, I love how WWE's blurring the lines between reality and fiction. If they keep doing this to a great extent, they'll just make the stories even better. And LC Killer, finally, $2 Super Chat. In ring and backstage. In regards to what again?
No context. You got to figure it out on your own.
In ring and backstage. I'll leave that open-ended. John Scott with a 350 Super Chat. Great pot as always. Sipping on the whiskey again. I love it. I love it, man. Love me a good whiskey. So does Jason. But you know what we also like? We like you guys. And we thank you for a great episode 60. Thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you for the Super Chat love. Thank you for the consistent 2,800 in here. Appreciate you guys very, very much. And as always, I'll let Jason sound us off as we get out of here?
Well, we're coming off what was a very fun, very good, newsworthy weekend of pro wrestling. And so I just feel like with all of this tribalism and all the nonsense that we often hear about and talk about, this is one of those weeks where I think we should just appreciate what we have here, because this is not always the most interesting or exciting times. You have sometimes where things are kind of dull, things are kind of treading water, and now it really feels like we've turned a corner, at least in terms of WWE, and we are heading into what I think is going to be a very fun period. AEW has its biggest show of the year coming up in a few weeks. I'm looking forward to the Berlin show. There's a lot to look forward to coming up, so my message is one of appreciation. Let's appreciate all the good things coming up here as we wind down the summer. Summer's gonna be over soon, dude.
It is. It's quite sad.
It is.
Anyway, thank you guys very much. Thank you to Jason as always. And we will see you back here next week for episode 61 of Tuesday Night Titans. Make sure you guys follow us on social and on YouTube. Everything you need is linked down below. And go get your t-shirts, man. Tuesday Night Titans official merch on Bonfire, also linked down below. Until next week, guys, have a great rest of the week. Jason and I will see you tomorrow for AEW Dynamite on our respective channels. And next week for episode 61. See you guys later.